Thank you, Sammy. I'm limping because I broke my left foot and my right leg last month. And they can't give me a cast for the leg, but they gave me a boot for the foot. It's fun going through TSA because I tell them it covers the ankle bracelet. Another thing you need to know is, okay, I lied. There's something else you need to know. I need to leave early, so at about 5:10, 5:15, I've got to blow out and go to the airport because I have to be at another engagement, and Harry's going to take back over again. So you'll just sort of see me, and then you won't see me. And the other thing you need to know is I'm something you didn't expect. I'm someone who grew up in Georgia, who lives in Florida, who talks very, very fast. So to get you ready for how fast I talk, I've got a little exercise we're going to do. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. I need you to answer as fast as you can. Can you do that? Yeah. Thanks, all three of you. Let's try this again. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. You answer very fast. I need you to answer as fast as you can. Can you do that? Yeah. You ready? Yeah. What do you do at a stop sign? Stop. What color is a stop sign? Red. What does red mean? Stop. No, it doesn't. It means danger. Red means danger, not stop. Now that's very important. Number one, in case you're on the roads today, when I'm headed to the airport, I want you to know what a stop sign looks like. And whenever you see the color red and you're driving down the road, men in particular, if you're driving, sorry ladies, but men, if you're driving down the road and you see a woman walking in a red dress going the other way, that means danger. It does not mean stop. So let's make sure we know that. Okay, 2 more questions and we're out of here. You ready for the last 2? Yeah. Oh, no, we're down to 3 now. Let's try it again. 2 more questions. Ready for the last 2? Yeah. What do you do at a yield sign? What color is a yield sign? Everybody says they're yellow, but you know what? For 45 years, this is what they look like. And you call yourself municipal leaders. Do you know how many of these you had to pass just to get to Little Rock? How many of you had to pass just to get off the exit to get here? Now, what I'm guessing is in the last 45 years, there may have been a few other things you might have missed. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about what it is to raise leaders and what people expect that you're leading. We're also going to talk about how to lead in unity, because these are troubling times. As Harry mentioned a moment ago, there's already been 2 major shootings in this country before the sun came up today in different places. And there are things going on that are just spiraling out of control right now. We need to be a symbol of unity as leaders in our municipalities. There's places I never heard of before until a disaster happened there. Well, I'd heard of Washington, D.C. and San Francisco, but there's places you've never heard of before. It could be in your back door. A policeman was just shot in Arkansas the other night. There are things going on, not just shooting, I'm just talking about there's unrest in the country. Mental unrest and physical unrest and emotional unrest. And so I want us to be able to leave here today with an idea of how to bring our people together in our municipality. There's a famous saying that there's an Anglican bishop over in England. And on his tombstone, over in England, there are these long things on tombstones. And on his tombstone, he has a statement, when I was a young man, I wanted to change the world. But as I grew older, I wanted to change my country. As I got much older, I decided I couldn't change my country, so I wanted to change my community. Then I tried to change my family. Now at the hour of my death, I've realized that if I changed myself, that would have changed my family, which would have changed my community, which would have changed my country, which would have changed the world. Each of you in here can make change. You can make things happen by what you do inside of you and how it bleeds over to other people. More peaceful revolutions have taken place in history because somebody stood up and changed themselves, and they changed everybody around them. So let's get going. What does it mean to be excellent in what you do? Excellence, and there's notes if you got them as you walked in the door. Excellence means, it comes from the root word excel, which means beyond average. Efficiency is getting the job done right. If you do the job right, you're efficient. You have people that work in your office or work for the city or the town who are efficient at what they do. They do the job right. Effectiveness is getting the right job done. Most of you are in your position as a clerk, as an administrator, as a mayor, as a board or council man or woman. You're in your job because you're effective. You know what to do. You can manage people well. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But excellence is getting the right job done right. It's the combination of efficiency and effectiveness. It's doing the right job and doing it right. So let's look at this. This is a study I saw several years ago from a man named John Maxwell. If you don't know who he is, go to any Barnes & Noble store, and he usually has his own shelf. He does things on leadership. He's a retired Wesleyan pastor who had the largest Wesleyan church in the nation out in San Diego. He retired from that, and now he does leadership seminars called Maximum Impact. He's world known. He's written books and books and books on leadership and attitude, and he helped turn my life around. Just a little bit of background on me. I'm a retired Southern Baptist youth and education minister. I'm in recovery right now from all of that. I left the ministry back in 2003, got kind of tired of church politics. I love doing what I do now, and I actually reach more people than I could sitting in my office all the time being a youth minister. And I just adore what I do. I learned something else too. Teenagers tend to fall asleep if you stand still, so I learned to move around with them. Well, then I've discovered y'all are just grown-up teenagers, so that's why you're going to see me move around a lot here too, okay? And you never know where I'm going to wind up today, so just sort of be alert. America needs more alerts. Okay, so excellence, if 99.9% doing your job was good enough then, over 2 million documents will be lost by the IRS this year. Now, by the looks on your face, I can see who's getting a refund and who isn't. If the IRS functions at 99.9%, over 1,300 phone calls will be routed to the wrong place every 60 seconds at 99.9%. If you think that's stunning, watch this one. 12 babies will be given to the wrong parents every day. Oh yeah, you don't care about the phone calls, it's the babies. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, friends. This just hurts. Over 5.5 million cases of Coke will be shipped that are flat in the next 12 months. That hurts. I was sitting in a restaurant the other day in an airport, and I ordered a hamburger, fries, and a Coke. And he said, "Will Pepsi do?" I said, "Sure." "Will Monopoly money do?" For the same reason. 20,000 incorrect drug prescriptions will be written in the next year at 99.9%. And 22,000 checks will be deducted from the wrong accounts in the next 60 seconds at 99.9% efficiency. I learned as a youth minister, you have to be on target all the time. People don't settle for less than 100%. If you take 100 teenagers off on a retreat and you only bring back 99% of them, someone's going to get mad at you. And mostly it's the parents that you brought their kids back. If you're going to leave a kid out wandering in the wilderness, why didn't you leave mine for a change, you know? So I learned you got to be on target all the time. So why aren't we excellent? Man, this is a really sensitive device here. And be careful, don't go to sleep. I have a laser. I think we're not excellent. I think one reason we're not excellent as leaders, we don't know how to manage people that well. And that's what we're going to do the crux of today, managing others and getting more of a harmonious work environment. I'm a big, big history buff. Let me start with this before I get into the history lesson. I'm going to tie this in. In a sales organization, some of you may on the side, or you're just working part-time for the city, but you've worked in sales before. How do most sales managers get their jobs? Anybody know? What do they do to get the job as sales manager? They sold really well. Do they know anything about managing people? No, they know how to sell. Now we get into the history lesson. In the Civil War, both North and Southern sides, both Union and Confederate sides, both of them had been trained by the same leaders before the war. Both of them rewarded people by merit the exact same way. The sharpshooter in every regiment, this means the guy that could handle a gun the best and could shoot most accurate, the sharpshooter was rewarded the same way in the North and the South. Do you know what he got to do? Carry the flag. And they practiced in their off-time shooting so they could carry the flag. They wanted to carry the flag. They were fighting for that flag. The whole song's written, "Rally Around the Flag." They wanted to fight for that flag. The flag was important. Not only did it stand for what you were fighting for, it told you where you were and where you were going. On a battlefield without radio communications, with secret signals going on. You've got these guys carrying humongous flags. And there's dust, there's cornfields, there's woods, there's smoke. You can't see anything, but you can see that flag, and you know which way it's headed. Now, both sides, unfortunately, started the war with a lot of red on their flags. Now, that flag is huge. The pole was about this big around. So I've got to carry that flag how? Both hands. If I'm the flag bearer, what am I no longer carrying? A gun. They have taken the best shooter and put a red banner in his hand, and now he's gone from being the best marksman to being the best target. Bingo. The odds of you being killed the first day, north and south, was between 88 and 89%, slightly 1% higher in the south. 88 north, 89 south. In the first day of battle, because you're waving something big red the other side wants, and you don't have a way to defend yourself. Most managers have gone from being leaders and being effective in their job to being targets, because they were never equipped how to go to battle, how to do their job, managing other people. They were just put up doing what they used to do very well. So let's get into this. And I think one thing too is, it just sort of side note, if you want to put this in your notes, if you're taking notes at all, just sort of the side here. I think most of us don't know how to recognize skills. I mentioned John Maxwell. I went to a conference when I used to work in churches called the 4 Skills Conference. It was 4 skills you were never taught in school. I don't care if you graduated high school, college, graduate degree, whatever. They don't teach you these 4 skills in business. The first one is attitude. You didn't pay for this. This is free of charge, so you may want to write on the back of a sheet or something like that. Attitude. If you have a sour attitude, no one wants to work with you and you won't get anything done. Take a moment. Turn to the back of one of your pages if you're taking notes, one of those blank sheets, and write the word attitude vertical, like A-T-T-I-T-U-D-E. Write it vertical. So the A, then the T, then the T, then the I, then the T, then the U, then the D. This make for a fun civic council meeting next time you go home. Now, if you assign each letter the number that it is in the alphabet, so that A is 1, T is 20, right? And T is 20, I is 9, T again 20, U 21, D 4, E 5. Somebody tell me what that adds up to. Who said it? It adds up to 100. If you have a good attitude, you have 100%. If you strive for success, it only adds up to 93. You'll fall 7 short. Most people are hired and fired because they have a good or bad attitude. I saw a study in USA Today several months ago. They did one little thing to do at the bottom of the paper, and it said, what's the number one reason students are hired for summer jobs? And the number one reason was not their skills, it was not their talents. I can teach you skills. I can teach you how to do a job. I can teach you exactly what the job description is. I cannot teach you how to have a good attitude about it. I was speaking to a group of convenience store owners in Georgia back in the fall, and during a break, one of the gentlemen was standing out talking to a few other guys. I was just sitting at the table listening, and he said, I won't hire anybody that hadn't had a job when they were in college. I refuse to do it. And I said, yeah, that's right, yeah. So I kind of walked over a little bit later. I said, would you mind explaining it to me? What did you mean by that? He said, it's simple. College doesn't teach you soft skills. You don't learn customer service. You don't know how to satisfy someone. You don't know how to bend over backwards to satisfy somebody that wants something different. All you know how to do is answer questions. And head knowledge doesn't translate into attitude. In college, you hang out with who you want to hang out. You don't hang out with people you don't. You have to learn how to adapt to people that you don't like being around to serve them well. And most managers don't know that. Attitude. Number 2 lesson, leadership. They don't teach leadership. That's what we're going to do today. They don't teach leadership in school. Young people are not taught how to lead other people. I was lucky I got to go to a military school. I went to a weird school in Atlanta. It was an all-boy military school run by Catholic priests, and I was a Baptist. I was the school Catholic. Actually, there's about 45% of us were non-Catholic, but it was a military school, it was a day school, and so I'd go home at night, but I wore an Air Force uniform, ROTC uniform every day, and we learned some leadership skills, but not how to lead other people, just how to give orders, not how to deal with people. The third thing that Maxwell taught was relationships. We're going to talk about that some today too. How to build relationships with other people, and how to have relationships with people that you don't always agree with, and still maintain good relationships and not polarize each other. And the final one was equipping. How to equip other people, which is leading into what we're about to do. How to equip other people to do what you can do. Now, this is definitely not in your notes, but this is going to be the biggest thing I'm going to say all day long. Your job as a leader is to work yourself out of a job. The job of every leader is to work themselves out of a job. Your job is to teach people how to do what you do, so when you're not around, they can do it without having to call you or text you or bug you to get permission to work for you. And also so that you can move up to a higher level, so that you can read books and you can study things and listen to speakers and go to conventions and do stuff. You don't have to keep checking with the office to make sure everybody's doing their job right. My wife is my co-worker. She's my assistant. Laura's not here. You're going to hear a little bit more about her today too. Laura does not quote fees very well. That's my job. My job is to sell me and quote fees. Laura's job is to do the details. If you run to Ken Wasson and ask him if Laura's very responsive, he's talked to her more than me, and he's never talked to her. She does everything by email. But Laura's job is to, I just said, here's basically the deal, hon. When I show up, I don't want them mad at me. Make everybody happy when we get there. And she does a good job of that, okay? She's excellent. But when I'm traveling like today and I'm speaking, if somebody calls and wants a fee right now, Laura has to quote a fee. And I've given her authority to do that. Not permission, authority. You've been hiring people for a long time and giving them responsibilities. You know this because they have a list of stuff to do. Here's how you know you gave people responsibilities. When you're gone, you have to check with the office to make sure they're doing everything right. If you started hiring people and giving them authority instead of responsibility, first off, they're starting to take control over it. And they're starting to run things without you because you hired them and put trust in them. Now, I gave this talk to a group in Michigan. There's a gentleman sitting right over here somewhere, and he looked at me and said, he raised his hand real fast. I said, what? And he said, I can't give these people authority that work for me. I said, why? He said, they're a bunch of idiots. I said, well, you know, in 2 minutes up here, I can't solve your problem. I need to come and consult with you, but just a quick question, who hired them? Because I'm thinking if I get the person that hired them, I could turn this person around. He said, well, I did. If you work with a bunch of idiots and you hired them, whose fault is it? There you go. What's the old saying? If Bob can't get along with Mary, and Bob can't get along with John, and Bob can't get along with Bruce, and Bob can't get along with Ellen, what's the common denominator? Bob. There you go. Successful leaders. Now we're going to talk about equipping people. Successful leaders, number one, they live their lives on a higher level. A successful leader lives their life on a higher level. It doesn't mean be above everybody, but you need to have something that other people want to aspire to. They want to go up to. They want to be like you. You want to leave you want to leave a Chris-shaped hole in the universe. And people want to fill that void when he's not here. Successful leaders live their lives on a higher level than everybody else. I don't mean exotic cars. I don't mean spending a lot of money, but at a level that people want to move up to. If you're moving up the ladder, you want to pull people up with you, but not so far ahead that you can't reach them and they can't reach you. Because then you start looking like the enemy and you'll get shot if you're too far ahead of the company. Number two, they give their people permission to go to a higher level. A lot of your people aren't acting on their own and doing things because they're afraid if they do something to satisfy a member of the public or someone in your command center, that you'll be mad at them even if they do it the right way. And I've seen studies on this in corporate America where they ask people, why aren't you coloring outside lines? Why aren't you going the extra mile? Why aren't you doing stuff? Or why are you just doing your day-to-day job saying, I'll get in trouble if I step out of the lines? I'll get in trouble if I do something. Now, our oldest son, Chris, is 27 years old. He's a millennial. Millennials are young people today who are between the age of 20 and about 34 years old. This is the most mobile generation in history. Backpacks. Our middle son, Corey, uses a cell phone as his, he said, that's my computer. I don't want a laptop. It's too big. Everything backpacks, everything mobile. How many of you have millennials living in your house right now? They're never moving out as long as you live. I just want you to know that, okay? Chris is a millennial. He has moved out, yay, but boo. Right now, he's sitting at the table in our dining room looking at his computer. Chris has moved out. He goes to bed at night at the apartment he lives at with his next younger brother, Corey, the one that has the cell phone for the computer. And every morning around 8 o'clock, Chris shows up at our house, sits at his computer, and sits there all day long when he's not working. Now, several years ago, he got a job working for Home Depot. And he got a job in the call center, and they want him to sit in front of a computer all day long. Chris started getting Homer Awards there. Now, here's what a Homer Award, if you never worked for Home Depot, Homer Awards are awards you get for satisfying customers. And X number of Homer Awards, you get a raise, and you get all these little badges and stuff. And you get to, by the way, they let you design that orange apron thing you wear, and you can put badges, put your name on it. In Chris's creative drawer, he would get Homer Award after Homer Award. And I said, why? He said, because I know the idea that Mr. Marcus, who developed, he's met Bernie Marcus, who developed Home Depot. I know what Mr. Marcus wanted, and I know how to satisfy what he wanted. And sometimes it's coloring outside the lines. A lady came in one day and bought a whole kitchen worth of stuff. And there was one thing she needed done that they don't typically do. I won't go into that much. And Chris said, I just went ahead and did it. She bought $28,000 worth of kitchen stuff. I'm going to do that one little thing for her. If I hadn't done it, she might have gone over to Lowe's. And he got a Homer Award for that because she was so satisfied. She went home and she called him up and said, I've never had anybody do this for me before. Do you color outside the lines? Yesterday, flying here, I had to change planes in Atlanta. I had a 2.5-hour layover. I'm sitting at the Atlanta airport. It was time to go to our flight. I went down to gate D. Well, I went to 13. The thing had changed gates several times. Wound up being 14 across the way. We're sitting there laughing about it. They boarded the flight. I get on board the flight. No, I'm going to be on my laptop, so I put it in the seat back in front of me. Well, we taxied out, stood on the runway for a few minutes. You hear the motor start up, the engine start up, go down. Pilot came and said, we're having engine trouble. I'm going to go back to the gate again. It will only be a few minutes. I just need maintenance to look at something. We're at the gate for 5 minutes. He said, maintenance just told me we can't use this airplane. There's something wrong with the engine. They don't think it'll stay going. Well, I'm all for getting off the airplane. I need you to get up as soon as possible. Go and figure out another gate you go to. Leave right now. So I took my computer bag. I took my cell phone out. I did go there. We go out there. We sat there for 20 minutes. They said, you're going to go down to gate D6. Thank the Lord it was in D still. And I hobble with the foot, hobble on down to D6. And then they board us. As I'm getting on the flight, I took my phone off to put it in my laptop bag. And where is my computer? Anybody remember where my computer is? So in the seat bag in that plane back at D14. I run back up, I just go, my computer, it's on the old plane. We got off so fast, mile a minute. Delta's not allowed to let me leave that jetway. Delta's not allowed to let me hobble on down the airport and definitely get on that airplane. Do you know within 5 minutes, a Delta supervisor, another lady, said, do you know what seat you're in? I said, I'm in 3C. They said, wait right here. I'm standing there, sweating bullets. And here they walk up with the thing. They said, we just walked off the airplane. Just they're about to tow it away. We got your laptop for you. Of course, I recommended them to Delta. Delta's not paid to do that. They're paid to get you there. And Delta's motto, I'm convinced after flying, is shut up, you're lucky we're taking you there. I've flown United twice. I think their motto is shut up, you're lucky we're still going there. And we'll beat you up if you got a problem with that. American Airlines, I think their motto is just shut up. We don't hear about it. I've flown Southwest 3 times, and I'm convinced that their motto is we're having a fun time and a blast. You get on board, you will too. I watched a video this morning of a little girl who was leaving Orlando, and it was put up by the Orlando airport on Facebook. This little girl, she's like 3, 4 years old, crying her eyes out because she's going to miss Mickey and Minnie Mouse. I don't want to go home. And a Southwest flight attendant saw her crying. They gave her refreshments. It didn't work. She cried her eyes out. And the Southwest flight attendant said, honey, of all the people in the airplane, you're the only one that can solve this problem. So what? Said, I need to help collect the trash from people. Could you help me? What? She said, can you hold the trash bag? And you and I'll team up. She had a little girl hold that trash bag where they always say thank you. And had a little girl do it and said, in moments, she just was in love with Southwest Airlines. You know what? When she got off the plane, she cried from that. Because she liked the flight attendant so much, made her completely forget about Mickey and Minnie for 5 minutes. You can drive your people, demand it, reinforce it, implement it, verbalize it, expect it. Constantly put the image in front of your people that they have permission to satisfy the public. Because if the public ain't happy, as we always say, if mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. If the public ain't happy, you may be out of a job. We're in a very mobile society. We don't have to live here and put up with this. Leaders, successful leaders expose their people to higher level experiences. You should be bringing as many of your town people. I met all the folks from Lake Village over here. There's 4 of y'all sitting over here. I met people, multiple people. Burling, am I pronouncing that right? Burling? Help me here. I met the guys over here. Yeah, that's I called your name. I'm supposed to cheer for that. Yeah. I met the folks from this town. There's several of them here. Bring your people to as many opportunities where you can enhance their ability to do their job. Why wouldn't you want to equip people? Listen, if your people aren't, how's this working? If your people aren't trained to do the job, you're going to wind up doing it. That's just the long and short of it. If you have to do everything, you're going to be having to do everything. Expose your people to higher level experiences. Here you go. Here are 4 important tools. Buy books for your people. How many of you have a book on your shelf that you on leadership or administration that you've already read? What's it still doing on your shelf? You're not going to read it again. How many times are you going to read Good to Great? I worked for a church one time, and the pastor walked in and said, I love this new book that's out. I bought 20 copies. Here's one for every staff member, every secretary, everybody here, every assistant. I want you to read it. Jim, you're responsible for chapter 1 next week. Leon, you're responsible for chapter 2 the next week. Chris, you're responsible for chapter 3 next week. Wendell, you're responsible for 4. None of us read the book. We just kind of fudged through the whole thing. I worked with a corporation, did the same thing, made everybody read this book. But you'd be more prone to read a book if I said, listen, Dorothy, I see a lot of potential in you. I like what you're doing. I think I can even help you be better at it. Here's a book I've read through and through. I've dog-eared it. I've underlined it. I want to give this to you from my heart to yours. You have one requirement. When you're through with that book, I want you to find someone else you can pass that along to. Can you do that for me? Doesn't that sound better? When are you more likely to read the book? When the manager, the clerk, the head clerk, whoever gave you something that was personal to them or assigned you reading. Tapes and CDs. Some people still listen to tapes. Buy CDs on leadership. Buy things that people do. Conferences, seminars. Bring people to events like this. Bring in successful people. For instance, I do a lot of consulting with towns. I've worked with small and large and medium-sized towns all over this country doing things like this, and what you're about to see in the second half of this today on how to work with different types of people, how to manage people better, and how to get along with each other better. Charleston, West Virginia, Boulder City, Nevada, Salisbury, North Carolina, Lexington, South Carolina, Fort Fairfield, Maine. Extra credit if you can ever find it on a map. This is Maine. It's right up here almost in Canada. In fact, we went to a country club to eat that's right on the border, and we parked our car in the United States, stepped over a line like that, and we were suddenly in Canada. We had lunch there. The problem was we showed up at noon, and they're an hour ahead, so suddenly lunch was at 1 o'clock. We had to eat fast because they were about to shut down for lunch. I've worked with towns small and large all over this country, helping them reinvent what they do and helping them be more successful. Bring people in and expose your people to it. Do whole town meetings like I'm doing with Raton, New Mexico. Raton's going through a terrible time right now because a lot of their industry departed when the energy crisis hit. And they've never really recovered. They're trying to find something they can do. There's towns like Enterprise, Alabama, which used to be in the cotton business. This is a famous story. They did cotton for a living. And boll weevils attacked all the cotton, and they switched over to raising other crops. And they switched over to helping with the steel mills. And in the center of Enterprise, Alabama, there's a statue to the boll weevil. Because it made them change. Sound like thunder. Don't make me do that again. Y'all can't hear it in the back, but it was thundering up here or something. Successful leaders take their people where they can't go on their own. Number one, they take people where they cannot go on their own. Are you taking your people places they would never go by themselves, but you have the budget, you have the expense for them, you have the ability to take your people as a leader places they can't go on their own? 5, do they show their people things they can't see on their own? Take them and then give them the vision. What is your vision for the town? What is your vision for the way the office should run? Do you explain it? Do you use several ways to do it? Do you post it in places? Do you show people what you want them to do? They give their people things they can't get on their own. So they show, they let them see, they take, and they give people things they can't get on their own, like you buying books and resources. There are things that you can do that you can help your team be better at doing. I hope you're thinking of some things right now you can do. And do that while you're here. You need to cultivate an attitude of generosity among your people. As you are generous with your people, it will flood out and they will be generous with the public. I was contacted by a bank in New Jersey a couple years ago, and a gentleman is the CEO, he's the president of the bank. He used to be an accountant in the back, and we were at a conference, and he gave me his card. I'm going to ask all of you, if you want to, when we're done, to give me your card during the break today. If you want me to talk to your town about what I can do to help you out, just take your business card out and write info on the back, and I'll call you on the phone. And I've got some business cards here and there if you want to get some. He said, he gave me his card with info on it, and he said, Jim, here's my problem. I was promoted to president when the president left. I didn't think I'd get this job, but they made me president. He said, I'm a figures guy. I'm a perfectionist. And I like to sit in the back of the office and not really mingle with people. I'm not a people person. He said, so I sneak in the door. I come in my own back door. I'll come at about 10 o'clock in the morning and get some coffee, and I kind of say hey to a couple people, but I really don't want to interact, and I go back in the office again. I said, okay, so what is your problem? He said, the bank people, my tellers, my managers, my account representatives aren't being friendly to our customers. They're being cold to them. Can anybody tell me why? Because that's what they think he's like, and that's what they think. Your leadership is going to be the leadership of the people underneath you. The speed of the leader determines the speed of the team. I heard Bill Hybel say that years ago at Willow Creek Church. Speed of the leader will determine the speed of the team, and the pace of the leader will determine the pace of the team. Successful leaders help their people shed baggage. These are bags you need to help people give up. And by the way, to go up, you have to give up. That's a John Maxwell phrase. If you want to go up, you have to give up some things. Number one, you need to help your people say goodbye to yesterday's failures. Get over it. We've all made mistakes. My wife and I knew each other when we were in high school. We went to church together. We were just friends, sometimes even rivals. We never dated. We reconnected years ago through Facebook. It wasn't that many years ago, but we did reconnect. In 2010, she'd been on Facebook for about a year and saw my name and said, are you the Jim Mathis I grew up with? I said, yeah. And she said, hey, how you doing? And we communicated back and forth for several months, and we actually got together for lunch one day and mainly caught up on people and everybody we've known. And when we sat down at lunch, I said, Laura, I got to confess something to you. Now, guys, if any of you guys are single and you're looking for a good pickup line, I've got the best pickup line in the world. We sat down at lunch. I looked at her. I said, I want to say something before we say anything else. I said, I have really screwed up in life. I've made a lot of mistakes. If you had this image of me as this outgoing, wild, nutty guy, well, hello, I still am. I've made mistakes. I just want to be friends. I'm not looking for any kind of relationship. I'm just trying to be friends. I've made a lot of mistakes. She said, Jim, I've made mistakes too. That's what life is all about. Well, we're celebrating our wedding anniversary tomorrow, so, it works. I wasn't trying to, but you have to get over yesterday's failures. Quit kicking yourself. Everybody else already kicked you enough, and you're kicking yourself more. Tim Allen, you know who Tim Allen is? Last Man Standing, Home Improvement, was in jail. Yes, it's true. He was in jail for drug possession. And the warden got a motivational speaker to come through and talk to the young men in the jail. And the speaker got up and said, the biggest problem all of you have one thing in common. You each have an enemy that is stopping you and putting you down and constantly telling you that you're a failure. And that enemy is why you're in here right now. And gentlemen, it's you. You are your own worst enemy. If you will get out of your own way, you'll be more successful. Tim took it to heart. He decided he wanted to entertain. He kind of always wanted to be an entertainer. He started doing variety shows in the prison. And he made himself the headliner, and the warden was all for it. And he'd tell jokes. He wasn't that good at it. But he got better and better, and he started making sounds like the prisoners were making. Arr, arr, arr. And when he started entertaining, when he got out of jail, he moved to Michigan, and he started a little graphic arts business. He knows when he'd entertain in clubs, he'd get more people laughing when he'd make fun of men. And that's how he built his act. And one night, HBO happened to be videotaping different videotape. That's a baby boomer word for videoing, okay? Just so you younger people don't know. And HBO was filming him. And they put it on TV a couple months later under a title, Young Comedians of the Midwest. And the very next day after that was televised, Disney called him on the phone and said, we want to build an entire television show around your comedy act. That's what's launched his career. He's written a #1 best-selling book. He's been a #1 best-selling movie. He's been in a #1 best-selling show. All because he got out of his own stinking way. Something else you need to lead your people to get beyond is today's successes. What I do when I'm not on the road is I make 30 to 40 outbound phone calls to clients who might hire me. If you don't believe that, ask Ken Watson how many times I've called him. Make fun of it, but I'm here. After I have a success, I think I don't need to make any more phone calls. I don't need to do anything else. Have you ever done that, kind of get in the end zone and dance a little bit? You know, and I don't need to do anything else. I scored a touchdown. I love what Vince Lombardi always said. Gentlemen, when you get in the end zone, act like you've been there before. Don't act like it's the first time you've ever been there, because people start treating you that way. And tomorrow's fears. If you live in fear, I guarantee you this, fearful things will happen. If you live in dread, I'll guarantee you this, dreadful things will happen. But if you get up and you live in hope that today's another opportunity to do something good, something hopeful is going to happen. Successful leaders possess a passion to lift people. You have to want to see people go to the next level. You have to want to see people do good, and when they do good, you get thrilled by it. Successful leaders have a passion to see other people succeed. And they can't wait to have children of their leadership moving on and doing on and doing on. And one day you'll look back on that job that you moved out of and somebody's leading it and you're proud of what they did, that you had a hand in it. You don't have to take credit. What was it? Red Auerbach one time, who was coaching the UCLA Bruins for so many championships, told the guys, now when you come down the court and you pass the ball and somebody takes that ball and then make a basket, if you're the one who made the basket, as you come back up court, point to the guy that passed you that ball and say thank you to him. And one player said, Coach, how do we know he'll be looking? He said, if you pass the ball and he made a basket, he's going to be looking. Someone's always looking at you. There's somebody out there in the community that wants to do what you do one day. They want to be a clerk, they want to be a mayor, they want to be an administrator, a financial officer, a recorder. There are people that want to, you want to do it. There's people that want to do this, and they are watching you all the time. I speak to a lot of fire chiefs organizations, and you know, I don't know if you've ever been in any of their organizations where they dress up the beautiful chiefs uniforms and they play the bagpipes and they come in with the flags and banners and the pikes. And I said, you know, every time a fire truck goes by, everybody stops and watches it. It's shiny, it's clean, and you kind of forget for a moment, these guys may be going to their death. Watch the thing that happened in London last night with a big literally towering inferno. But you say, wow, man, there's a fire truck by there. Someone's always watching them. Someone's always watching you too. They want to do what you're doing. They want to make a difference in the community. They don't want to make a difference if you're a slack-off leader and you're not somebody they want to follow. You think about it. You think about someone when you were growing up that you admired the most. It could be a parent, a brother or sister. It could be a leader and a teacher. It could be somebody in church. There was somebody, it might have been someone famous. There was someone you admired. Now, right now, here's what they have in common. They have a good attitude. You're doing your job now because somebody before you had a good enough attitude that you were inspired and wanted to do it. Pass that along to someone. Successful leaders keep connected with their people, and they connect with them emotionally, relationally, and spiritually. You need to connect with your folks. Find out things about the team that works for you. Find out when their birthdays are. Find out things that are going on in their lives. How can you connect with them? The evening before the Battle of Cowpen, South Carolina. You may not have heard of Cowpen, South Carolina. If you want to see it on the movie, watch the movie with Mel Gibson, The Patriot. That last battle, they're reenacting the Battle of Cowpen. That's pretty much it. Daniel Morgan, never dressed much in a uniform, was always in a buckskin outfit, went among the men the night before. He's about to face the dreaded Bannister Tarleton, who was known as Bloody Tarleton, who would come in on cavalry with swords and even kill the surrendering prisoners. He was a fearful man, and Morgan came in the night before, and he went among the fires that night around the soldiers. Said, we're going to give him tomorrow. We're going to let him hear from Band's group, okay? Band's group's going to hear from us. Morgan's men are going to win. The next day they won because he had an interesting battle tactic. The night before D-Day, we just had the D-Day anniversary earlier this month. Eisenhower was in his headquarters. He'd given the orders, which meant that the 82nd and 101st Airborne were about to parachute into France. And he turned to his driver and said, I want you to find me one of those units. I want to find one of the units of paratroopers, where they are, I don't care where. So he made some phone calls, he found one, gets it, the driver gets him in the car, and they go out to this unit. Well, they were told the Supreme Allied Commander's coming, so they were all told, quit packing your parachutes. Stand at attention, look clean, and look neat. Here he comes. So he pulls up, the car pulls up, they all stand like this. Eisenhower gets out and says, go back to what you were doing. I'm not what's important. What you're doing is important. I just wanted to talk to you guys and see you. They didn't know it, but in his coat pocket was a press release he was going to read if D-Day was a failure, what he was going to say to the press. He kept that with him for the next 36 hours. He stood there, he went up to one of them and said, anybody got a cigarette? Because he smoked. He said, yes, give me one. He bummed a cigarette with one of the guys sitting there smoking. He said, where y'all from? And one guy was from Kansas. He said, I'm from Wichita, Kansas. And they'll start talking about where they're from and their families. He said, showed him pictures, everything. He stood there for an hour. He got back into the limousine. He was almost in tears. The driver said, what did you do that for? He said, I wanted to see the men I'm leading into battle, and I wanted them to see me. The word is that Abraham Lincoln, whenever he could, would go down to Union Station in Washington, D.C. and personally say goodbye to every soldier shipping out on a train to the front. Now, here's how that benefited him. When the election of 1864 came around, what put him over the top was the soldiers. The army voted him over. Most of them had met him. They weren't fighting for a cause. They weren't fighting for a country. They were fighting for this kind man that had come out and connected with them. And finally, let's go to relational leadership. Y'all doing okay? Yes. We're going to start this. We're going to take a break in just a few minutes after I do the first one. This is 4 sections, and we'll take a quick stand-up break. A couple of things let me tell you about this while we're doing this. About every other row in the table. I didn't know y'all going to be in the back, and I'm afraid to move back there because I don't know if they can follow me with a camera, but I'll come back there. About every other row in the table section, there's a blue sheet with lines on it. I send out once a month only a professional development newsletter. I write articles on different things I present on. Last month was on millennials, how to work with millennials in the workplace, and how to hire and manage them more effectively. This month's newsletter, the article is on what do you think you're doing? Are you doing what you're in business to do? Or are you doing what you think you're in business to do? Because trust me, the public thinks you're there doing something different than you think half the time. And it's how to get that aligned. If you will print like a typewriter and just put your name and your email address and pass it down and then pass it all the way back, and so the folks in the general admissions, sorry, the folks that without the table can get one too, because they're all going to pass back. If you'll sign that, if you don't want to do it, just pass it along. You don't have to take it, but it's free of charge, and you can reprint any article for free whenever you want to. And I'll be available. I also have a copy of my best-selling book. I'm not selling any today, but I would be honored. This is why this is up here. If during the break, if you would sign my book. I take this with me like a traveling yearbook. See, I've got signatures all over the thing, and I just collect them. If you want a copy of the book, give me your card with the word book on the back, and I'll call you when I get home, and we'll work out a deal, and we'll ship it to you, okay? But I'm not here to hawk the book. I'm here to help you. Relational leadership, number one, to work with teams, you need to understand individuals. You can't work with a team of people. And I remember when Harry got brought ago, he said this whole thing was put together by teams. And I heard Ken doing a video earlier with us. We were standing out in the hallway with Whitney and everybody, and everybody, and he was talking about the teams put this together. Well, you have a team at work, but it's only as good as you understanding every team member. Okay, I'll confess it. I'm from Atlanta. I'm a Falcon fan. 28-point lead we blew in the second half. It's not the first time the Falcons have humiliated me. We've been doing this for 41 years. Can you, if I, yeah, okay. Years ago when we had a bad team, I'm not kidding, we've always had a bad team. Years ago, we drafted a guy in the first round to be a quarterback. He was supposed to be good. But we had a coach named Jerry Glanville that liked to call his own plays. Y'all remember Jerry Glanville? He always left 2 tickets for Elvis at the call box just in case Elvis showed up. I'm not joking. He'd have MC Hammer standing on the sideline. How serious can you take a team when the coach, instead of having someone super inspiring, has MC Hammer? Too legit to quit. And 2 tickets for Elvis at the box office. Glanville didn't like this quarterback. He said this guy was something of a dud. Because the guy liked to call his own plays and Jerry liked to call all the plays. So after 8 or 9 games, they were complaining, well, this guy's first round pick put him in the game, so he'd put him in always with the second or third string offense. The guy would get nailed every time. The guy had to scramble for no reason whatsoever other than he didn't have a front line. He was terrible. They were already losing by the time he's in. At the end of the season, Glanville said, I told you he was terrible. I told you he wasn't going to work out. Get rid of him. So we traded him off to Green Bay for 2 players that no one can name to this day. In case you're wondering who that player was, his name was Brett Favre. Or John Madden says Brett Favre. He was Brett Favre. Because Jerry couldn't understand how to make a team work with Brett Favre. By George, they sure did in Green Bay, didn't they? To understand individuals, you need to know their personality and their behavioral styles. You need to know what makes them tick and what ticks them off. If you're going to work with people, you need to know how to work with different types of people that aren't you. And I'm going to warn you about this. We all like people who are just like us. We gravitate toward people who are just like us. Same socioeconomic. I bet you of your top 5 friends, if you have 5 friends, 3 of them roughly make the same amount you make in wages. Because we gravitate toward people who are just like us. We hide out with people who are just like us. Probably live in your same section of town, in a very similar house. Because we like people who are like us. And finally, to bring about change, you need to master adaptability. Now, here's where I'm going to go against the grain with you. You need to master being able to adapt to other people who are not like you. And how to work with people that don't respond the way that you like people responding. And we're going to act this out in a moment here too. Let's get going. The first group we're going to talk about, there are 4 types of people that, how many of you ever done a DISC assessment? This is loosely based on, good, I can make stuff up, there's none of hands up right now. How many of you hate it when the speaker says raise your hand? Just curious, okay. There's people actually raise their hand when you do that. There are 4 types of personalities, and all 4 are in this room. And here's the scary part, all 4 are in each of you. There's a power broker in you that wants to be in charge and in control. There's a populist in you that wants to draw attention to yourself and have people like you. There's a peacemaker in you that wants to shy away from conflict and wants everybody just to get along around you and not make noise. And there's a perfectionist in you that wants everything done by the rules and in order. And they vie for whatever's on top. And all of you like this. Now, I mentioned Coca-Cola and Pepsi a while ago. Do you know what the ingredient, do you know that Coca-Cola, now being a native Atlantan, the formula for Coca-Cola is buried in a vault underneath that real tall building that says Coca-Cola in Atlanta. But you know the ingredients are available to anybody that picks up a bottle or picks up a, here you go. Let me borrow your bottle. Here's all the ingredients right here. The ingredients to Pepsi are on theirs too. It's pretty much the same thing. So what's the difference in Coke and Pepsi? That's it. It's the mixture. The mixture of those four personalities in you tells what personality style you mainly use, and is also what you see in other people. And it's what they're advertising. Whatever the dominant one is the one that people notice in you. So let's watch this. Some people, their dominant one, the one that is out front, the one that's leading, is the power broker. The Greeks call this is as old as 3,000 years ago, they called it choleric. It's a dominant personality. They're controllers. Now, if you don't learn anything else about these people, this is the one thing. They are controllers. They're control freaks. Their basic desire is, of course, to have control. They want to be in control of everybody and everything, every conversation. They don't believe in taking a vote to see who's in charge because they think a vote is just a pooling of ignorant people. When a power broker walks in the room, they're in charge. They don't wait to have somebody put them in charge, they just take charge. You put them on a team of people, they're in charge. I did this exercise I did a full day of training with the city of Charleston, West Virginia, and in the morning we went over this, and they all did assessments. There's assessments you can do to figure out what yours is. You don't have to guess, but trust me, if you don't know what it is, when we're done, ask 5 people who know you, they'll tell you what you are. Some of them have been dying to tell you for years. I had all the power brokers in this section. I had the populace there. I had this is the whole city management group. I had the peacemakers there and perfectionists here. I gave them all one piece of butcher paper and a magic marker. And I said, write down your personality attributes that contribute to the city of Charleston. This bunch of the control freaks finished before everybody else, went out and got coffee, and then sat there and made fun of how long it was taking everybody else to do it. It was their turn to give their report. One lady got up and she said, okay, pay attention, I'm only going to do this one time. Here's our answers. Bam, bam, bam. Questions? No. Good. I don't want to answer any. And she went over and she put the thing up on the board. Their emotional needs are obedience. Well, if you're a control freak, what you need is people to obey you and do what you said, and no one will get hurt. Just do what I say, nobody gets hurt. Their greatest fear is, of course, things being out of control. They can't stand not being in control. They are scared to death of things going over that they're not in charge of. Natural disasters are personal disasters to them. They hate details. They despise details. And the details they hate the most are your piddling little details, because they don't want to hear about them. There's only one set of details these people like. You know what they are? Their own set of details. They will talk forever about some useless thing that you don't care about. Then when you give your 2 cents, they don't want to hear about it. I don't hear about that. Oh. In fact, let me tell you ways you know you're a power broker, okay? You were driving to this meeting and you got on a multi-lane road in the city, and the light turned red, and there were cars in front of you in several lanes. And you judged the year, make, and model of the cars in each lane to decide which one was going to get off the light first, and that's the one you got behind. And before the light changed, some people kind of move forward a little bit. That car moved forward. You took up the slack because you were going to be late, but now that you're 3 inches closer, you'll have time for coffee when you get there. You're a power broker if you got up this morning at the very last minute, got showered, got clothed, got breakfast, and showed up at the last minute you could to the meeting because you didn't want to stand around and mill around with people, because then you have to hear about their lives and their stories, and you just don't care. If you go grocery shopping and you're a power broker, you get in the 10 items or less express lane, whether you've got 10 items or not. They've learned a long time ago not to mess with you. They've learned not to say that's 15, say I'll give you 5 right now. But that lane wasn't moving fast enough, so you take your cart and you move it to a lane that's going faster. But if you're a real power broker, you'll keep track of the person who would have been you in lane number 1. And if they get out before you do, you're ticked off for the rest of the day. Now, by a real quick show of hands, how many power brokers are there in here? Who in here is a power broker? You think you're a power broker? Oh my God, and you're watching a baby? Anybody over here a power broker? All right, how many of you are sitting next to a power broker and you're afraid to raise your hand? That's what I thought, yeah. Do what I say, nobody gets hurt. coaching them, if you're working with them, give them direct, logical steps. Tell them exactly what to do, get over it, and move on. If you're a power broker, you're saying, Jim, we get it, move on to the next group. I'm sorry if there's other people in here, and I'm being paid to do this. They love direct, logical steps, get to the point, get it over with. If you ask a power broker a question, they will answer that question immediately. It won't always be right, but they don't care. They'll defend that they were wrong for the rest of their lives. Watch politicians on television, you'll see what I'm talking about. And when they do oh, that was a misstatement. What the heck is a misstatement? Well then, oh, I meant such and such. I still am right, okay? I'm not calling any names. If a power broker asks you a question, they want an immediate answer. They don't want you to hem and haw. They don't want you to process it or think about it. And they judge you by how fast you answered the question. If you answered it fast, you're smart. If it took you a while, you're kind of stupid and slow and lazy. I'm not kidding. That's the way. Am I stepping on toes back there? I thought so. That's how they judge everything. Remember, we like people who are like us. All right. Under pressure, they get angry. Everybody thought they were mad to start off with. This makes it worse. When they're under pressure, now here's what you see about all four of these styles. When they get pushed into a corner or they get questioned or things don't go their way, they do more of what got them there in the first place. And as Dr. Phil would say, how's that working for you? When a control freak gets pushed into the corner, they try to control more. I got in trouble doing this down in South Florida because I said, have you ever been to a country where they don't speak your language? And a lot of people raised their, and how did you communicate? Because I did English like, where is the shoe store? That hurt my leg. I can't do that much. We yell, we wave our arms, we scream, we stomp. We do more English slower. Power brokers are the same way. When they get pushed in a corner, they do more of that. They be more controller, okay? Working with them, challenge them. Now, here is the power broker's Achilles heel. You got their number if you know this. They cannot resist a challenge. And here's how I proved. If you're a power broker, getting here was a challenge. Every moment of your life is a challenge. Getting out of bed, getting in the shower, getting ready. By the way, speaking of getting out of bed, I don't know if many of y'all drove here or spent the night here. Or you're going to spend the night tonight? I said I wasn't going to sell books, but I'm going to ask you this. Does anybody want to buy a used bed? A used mattress? Anybody want to buy a used mattress? Dear, why are you telling me no? What's wrong with buying a used mattress? What's wrong with it? Someone slept on it? You stay in the hotel tonight? Yeah, they are. See, you're going to be thinking about this when you go to bed tonight. If you won't buy a used mattress because someone else slept on it, guess what they did on your bed last night? I don't want to think about what they did last night. You're going to be thinking about this when you go to sleep tonight. Power brokers cannot resist a challenge. It's like blood in the water to a shark. If a power broker says, you can't do it that way because I'll bet you can't do it this way. I'll bet you've never looked at it that way. I'll bet you couldn't do it better if you did it this way. And that's a challenge. They love a good challenge, and they cannot resist it. TV characters. On TV, well, let's start with the easy one first. The Charlie Brown Christmas special, because most of us have seen it, or our kids have seen it, or our grandchildren have seen it. Who's the power broker on that show? It's Lucy. It's always the person who's the maddest, who no one else wants to defy. You name me a TV show, and I've watched it more than 5 times, I can tell you who it is. On MASH, it's Hot Lips, Margaret Houlihan. Everybody loves Raymond. There's 2 on that show. There's his mother, Doris, and who's the other power broker? His wife. What are they fighting for control of? Raymond. That's what the whole show's about. You'll notice, by the way, that Raymond never takes sides with them when they're both in the same room. And we'll tell you why in a moment. Because he's another personality style. And finally, on the Jerry Seinfeld show, it's Jerry. Jerry is constantly in charge. Everything takes place in his apartment. If someone gets hurt, he don't want to know the details. Oh, that's a shame. Big deal. I don't care. Power brokers are afraid if they show concern, they'll get too involved in the details. And they hate details. If you're a power broker, you stay in your office with the door shut most of the time, masterminding 5 things for other people to do. You probably drive a big honking truck or SUV or some big car with dents in the front where you've knocked people off the road because they were going too slow and they were in your way. Your back bumper may have a sticker on it that says, "My kid beat up your honor student." Signal broke, watch for finger. Cold, dead hands. See where I'm going with this? Power broker, they're in charge. Don't get in their way. You're in the way. You're piddling around too much, okay? Presidential politics. Now, I'm going to get political. I'm going to make fun of everybody today. In my lifetime, we've had several power broker presidents. Well, politicians in the highest office of the country kind of tend to lean toward people that want to be in charge. Going back to when I was a teenager, Richard Nixon was a power broker. I am the president. Make no mistake. I'm not a crook. Do what I say. No one gets hurt. Quick question. Were they having fun in the Nixon White House? Was it a fun place to work? Heck no, it wasn't. You don't have fun working for a power broker. You're scared to death they'll shoot your head off if you stick it out of your office door. They're scared to death of that man. George W. Bush was a power broker. Now here's how I know it. After the attack on 9/11, he came on TV and made an address to the nation and the world. He said, "We're at war with terrorism. You're either for us or you're against us." It's black. Power brokers, these things, there's no gray. It's black or white. It's sort of like, make a choice. I haven't got all day. We're ready to launch an attack, so hurry up and say something. Which side do you want to be on right now? That's a power broker. No black, all black, all white, no gray area. That's power broker talk. Make a choice. I'm making decisions right now. You could be the next place we attack. Trump is a power broker. You knew that watching the television show. President Trump is a power broker. One way he showed just in the last week when former FBI Director Comey was testifying, remember one of the things that he kept asking Comey? I want your loyalty. That's a power broker statement. I want to know you're on my side, because if you're not, it ain't no gray, it's black or white. Now, this doesn't mean it's a character flaw. They used to ask Bush little questions like, what'd you have for breakfast? He couldn't remember. Why? Why can't he remember what he had for breakfast? He's not stupid. It's a detail. They don't mess with details. They hire people to work under them that handle the details for them. They delegate. But remember, we have a society where if you delegate too much, you're a bum. And if you don't delegate at all, you're an idiot. So we can't please everybody. But power brokers have to be in charge. Let's take, before we go to the next group, oh, no, we're going to do this, and we're going to take the break after this one set of slides, power broker. Their best area of work, they love power and authority. That is their best environment to work, where they can be in charge, be in authority. I had a friend, when I lived in Evansville, Indiana. I was a youth minister up there, and now you don't want this on camera, it's going to be good. Bill worked for Whirlpool. If you own a Frigidaire, a Kenmore, or a Whirlpool anything, Bill probably touched it because they made refrigerators. I know there was another Whirlpool factory down here in Arkansas, but the one in Evansville made the refrigerators. And this is what Bill did. He would clock into work every morning at 7:30, and he would put on a special set of sensitive gloves, and he would stand on the line, and he would feel the sides of every empty refrigerator body of the thing, and feel it for dents. If it had a dent, he was supposed to turn it this way and went down the assembly line that way, where they'd hammer out the dents and send it back down again. If it was okay, which 98% of them are, he would turn it this way so that the next people in the assembly line could put in the insulation, the lining, the shelves, and all that stuff, and the motor, and so on. Bill did this for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. He just retired a little while ago after doing this for 38 years. He was so good at it, they tried to make him the supervisor of people who did this. And Bill threatened to quit because all he wanted to do was this. Ooh, that has a mistake. The union kept him in a job because they made a machine that would turn those refrigerators, but that would have put Bill out of a job. So Bill got to do this for 38 years. Now, if you're a power broker, that's the most repulsive story you've ever seen in your life. If you're a power broker, the routine of that job would kill you. If you're a power broker, you're thinking, I would last 3 hours, then I would gnaw off my foot to get out of that trap. If John and Fred would quit talking to each other so much, I could take more refrigerators, we could turn them, we could put up production notices, we'd be better, and I could be up in the room with the white-collar guys, and I could write a book about all this stuff, how I'd sped up Whirlpool, made it #1, and I'd make a fortune if they'd just listened to me. But they didn't, and Bill was happy with his job. They love prestige and a challenge. Turning refrigerators is no challenge whatsoever, except that one every about 50-something that has a scratch on it or something. They love direct answers. They love you to give them a straight shot. If I ask you a question, I want a direct answer. Don't go around the bush. Don't be. My grandfather worked for Southern Railway. His phrase was, don't pull switches on me. Don't go off the siding somewhere, go straight down the main line. Give me the answer. They love a wide scope of operations. They don't want to be pigeonholed into one job, turning refrigerators. They want where they're in charge of a lot of things going on, but don't have to handle the details. They want opportunities for individual accomplishment. They want to be at a job where they can stand out. If you put a power broker on a team in your office, they'll do all the work for the team and sign their name to the project. Every time. They want opportunities for advancement. They want a job where they can move up. They don't want to be stuck in the same job for 38, 40, 50 years. They want a job they can move up in, move up the ladder. And they want freedom from controls and supervision. They don't want someone micromanaging them. Worst thing you do, a power broker, is tell them in detail how to do their job. They'll shoot you, one way or the other. And they love many new and varied activities. They adore change. They love shaking things up. They love messing with the status quo. They love making it different. They'll walk in the office one day and say, you know what, I think we need to paint the walls yellow in here. What's wrong with green? I've already decided yellow. And we need to move the copier over next to that trash can over there. I think this place will flow better. And then 2 weeks later, they want to move the copier over here. And then, you know why they're moving it from, you know why they moved from here to here? They thought it would flow better. You know why they moved it over here? Because they were wrong and it's worse, but they can't admit it by moving it back there, so they moved it over here to let it rest here for a while. And they said, I think we'll move it back over there. I think I liked it better that way. And then they can cover the fact that they actually made a mistake. Okay? They love things to change frequently. The logo, the city, whatever. The way we do business. Switched from paper to electronic, back to paper again. We'll do this to get the latest, greatest upgrade of the latest computer program. We're going to shut down for a week while we upgrade all of our computers, and we're going to buy this, and there's a new Windows system out. There's a new OS, Apple OS program out, and have you seen my new gadget I got here? Power brokers love new, dangly, changing things. They adore change. Now, because we're limited in time and I'm limited in time, take a 5-minute stand-up break. If you'll pass those blue sheets toward the back, so the folks in the balcony back there, there's Ken back there waving, pass them back that way. If you want to pick up a card, do it. We're going to, just when you thought it was safe to get back in the water again. Here we go. Off the power brokers. Now we're going to talk about the populists. The Greeks called them sanguine. That's where we get the word hot-blooded from. Sanguine was the Greek word for their hot-blooded people. They thought they had too much blood pumping through their veins. They're influencers. They're talkers. They talk and 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 talk. And talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. They have very short attention spans. You ever see that movie Up where they see the dog that goes, squirrel? Hello. Their basic desire in life and in work and in everything is to have fun. Life is all fun and games for these folks, and if it isn't fun and games, they will make it fun and games. Their emotional needs, now if you know this, you've got their number figured out. Their emotional needs start with the letter A. It's 3 A's. Attention, affirmation, and acceptance. They crave these about every 5 minutes. They have to have your full attention. They want your full acceptance, and they want you to affirm them that they are warm and wonderful people and that you really, really love them. Think of Sally Fields at the Academy Awards several years ago and said, "You love me. You really, really love me." It's too small to hold up here. Maybe I can do this because I got you guys here. No, it's up there in the case. I won't mess with it. I did this for a sales meeting for U.S. Oil who was talking about Green Bay, in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I did this for their sales crew. And this guy walked up afterwards, this blue sign-up sheet you were passing around, he flipped it over, drew a caricature of himself, and signed the thing and said, "Don't you forget who I am." I knew who he was before he signed the thing, because he made the whole thing fun. Their workspaces are fun. Their workspaces have feng shui fountains, aroma-scented candles, pictures of every member of their family and their pet on their desk. Every award or trophy they've ever gotten in life. Every accomplishment, the 4th place bowling trophy is there because at some time they didn't come in 5th. And people love them. And they have a TV or radio going, and they have games to play within their office so that you'll come in and play like Rubik's Cube or the little dealy bobber or all the swag that you get over here in the trade show. You're getting that for them. Why is it loud colored? Because they like it. They wear flashy clothes. They dress in bright colors, whether it's before or after Easter. They don't care. That's an old Southern tradition. Some of you younger people don't know what I'm talking about, but trust me, look at someone that looks about like me, mention Oldsmobile, if they know what you're talking about, talk to them about it, okay? And they have a sitting area in their office, so you'll come in and sit down and talk to them. Their desk always faces the door so they can greet people going by and going to the water fountain. And here's the problem. If you don't come in and sit down in their office and talk to them, they come in your office and you can't get rid of them for the next hour. This is why the power broker has their door closed, because there are populace wandering the hallways trying to find a good time all the time, okay? Their greatest fear is lack of attention or fun. Their biggest fear on the job is people will quit noticing them or the job will get boring. Give you an example. I was doing this with the group, remember, several weeks ago? The ones over here, one magic marker, butcher paper, finish first. The populist, who were back over here, Roger gave the instructions. One of them walked over and said, "Can we have more markers?" I said, "Why?" "We all want to write." Oh boy. So they went and found these markers in a closet somewhere. You know the markers that the color has an odor to it that matches, like red's cherry and green is lime and yellow's lemon? They wanted those so that their report not only would look good, it would smell good too. And they all wrote on it in their own handwriting. Remember that stuff I said about printing on the sign-up sheet? Then I walked by and said, "All that thing lacks is a potted plant." Well, by George, some lady got and drew a potted plant right in the middle of it. It had a pot, terracotta pot, had flowers coming out of it, a little butterfly. One guy was a Broncos fan. He put a Broncos logo on it. I have no idea why. Somebody else put a little happy face down here, and they started drawing. Okay, now it's time for them to give their report. Anybody want to guess how they gave their report? All of them did it. All of them did it at the same time. They all got the paper, and they're all talking at once. We have no idea what they said. I couldn't read it. It went in every direction. It was cursive writing. It was fancy writing. It was foreign writing. It had shadows behind it. And they kind of en masse went up and put the thing up. I didn't tell them to do this. This is what they did. They made it a fun activity. And they did it their way. Coaching, keep it simple with these people. They're shallow as all get out. Now, you have to understand something. That's not a put down, that's a fact. They don't hate details. They just weren't where they existed in the first place. They drive flashy cars. They drive convertibles. They put the top down no matter what the weather is. And they come in and say, ooh, I'm freezing today. Well, you should be freezing at 30 degrees. Oh, I know, but I had the top down. Just want to let you know I have a convertible with the top down. Great. Thanks for telling us that. You notice they started making lime green cars again? That's for these people. You wouldn't find a power broker with a lime green car unless it was under the front fender of his car because he rolled over it trying to get it out of the way. Under pressure, they become, remember what does everybody do under pressure? They do more of what got you irritated in the first place. So they talk more, and they talk louder, and they make a bigger deal out of it, and they draw more pictures. See, here's what I want you to notice, too, about the two groups we've done, and you'll see this about the other two groups we're going to do before we close today. Under pressure, they don't adapt to their surroundings. They become more of what they were that got them there in the first place, and they get themselves more in trouble. They don't like in football teams where you take halftime and shift. If anybody took halftime and shift, it was New England Patriots in the Super Bowl when they came out and just spanked the Falcons big time. The Falcons were, hey, we're doing pretty good. I don't think there's anything we need to change here. Oh, the other team won't come up with new ideas. I only got 15 minutes. Duh. Working with them, don't box them in. They always like to do things their way. They don't like being micromanaged either, because they'll say, if you wanted me to do the job, why'd you ask me to do it? Yeah, I thought you wanted me to do it with my personal flair. Let them plan the party. Let them do the decorations. Let them stay and clean it. By the way, they're bad at follow-up. They won't clean it up afterwards. They'll just think somebody will do it. They'll say, don't we have cleaning people to do that? Say, yes, you. Don't give them a long project. Why wouldn't you want to give these folks a long project? Short attention span. If you give them a project due next Tuesday, they'll probably turn it in on Monday. They'll do it right away, or they'll put it off and Tuesday will come and say, yeah, darn, you're right. Can I give it to you later? Will it be okay? Television characters. Now, this character, Hollywood knows this, in every TV show and every movie you watch has at least 4 main characters on it, unless it's Castaway, where there are 2 characters, Tom Hanks and a ball. But every successful TV show has at least 4 main characters, and they exaggerate this. So who on the Charlie Brown Christmas special is on that show just to have fun? Snoopy. All he does is have fun on that show. Decorates his house. Why? To win an award. Plays Crack the Whip with Linus when they're ice skating. Kisses Lucy, which lets you know how well these folks get along with power brokers. On MASH, it was Hawkeye. Yes, I always make a big deal out of the fact that Klinger doesn't dress in a uniform. Nobody ever picks up on the fact that Hawkeye never wears a uniform either, until later, way later on the seasons. On Jerry Seinfeld, who is it? Just Kramer. Giddy up. It's Kramer. He's exaggerated populist. And everybody loves Raymond. It's Raymond. Nobody really knows what this guy does all the time. He writes a column somewhere and goes and plays golf all the time. And he never takes sides when his wife and mother argue. Why? Because he wants attention, affirmation, and acceptance all the time. Now, we've had several presidents in my lifetime that were like this. They were populists. The first one I can remember is Ronald Reagan. It's morning in America. If you see a soldier or a policeman walking down the street, go up to them, salute them, and shake their hand and tell them thank you. When he said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, where was he standing? In front of the wall. Jimmy Carter would have done that from the Rose Garden, but Reagan always said, match the message to the man. It was a populist type thing to do. Now, Barack Obama had a lot, still does, I mean, not like they're dead, but Barack Obama had a lot of populism in the way he managed things. For instance, do you remember in the first year of his presidency, the Cambridge, Massachusetts police arrested a guy for getting into his own house? And Obama said the police acted stupidly. Well, now his foot's in his mouth, so he has to do something to make it up. Anybody remember what he did to be the peacemaker in that? The beer summit. This group, populists, likes to do business over food. Food is the excuse for getting together. A lot of times, all these groups have a little bit of inferiority complex. Everybody does. Everybody has a little bit of inferiority complex. The power brokers overcome it by just being more forceful. This group does it by getting you to eat something because they don't think they're powerful enough for you to eat with, for you to meet with them. If we have food, you've got to eat anyway. He also, when people would throw verbal stones at President Obama, he would laugh it off. Well, they're just doing such a well. You always see a lot of pictures of him smiling. You know, what they did, he kind of make a joke out of it. Well, they're just doing this because they're like that. Or the party of no, they do. Okay, he was laughing up. Why? He's being more of an influencer type. He's being more of the populist type. Okay? I knew when George W. Bush couldn't run for president anymore, and President Obama was running against Hillary Clinton for the Democratic nomination. I knew good and well you weren't going to have another power broker in office, because we've had 8 years of the big dog sitting on the porch guarding the hen house against the terrorists. You know, we want something different. Now, we had another president between Reagan and between Obama who was also a populist. Bill Clinton, hometown. Now, they were having fun in the Clinton White House, weren't they? You bet we were, you sure were. Yeah, they were having a blast there. Pulling little pranks, doing all kind of stuff. They say if he walked into this room right now, I don't know if you've ever met him before, but when he walks into a room, this size of a room, this many people, within 20 minutes, all of you would feel like he came in here just to say hey to you. He shakes your hand with both hands. He's populist type. He's friendly. He's outgoing. Now, he didn't marry a populist, did he? See what I mean? Now, don't worry, opposites can attract. I'm going to show that in a moment. But let me give you kind of a more virtual example of this. I need to borrow, can I borrow that book for you for just a moment? Now, I need someone who said they think they're a power broker based on my description. Hopefully near an aisle where I can get to you. Do we have a power broker here? You don't have to get up or do it. You'll be a power broker for me. I appreciate it. What's your first name, sir? Fred? Fred, okay. Fred, this is how Fred, like, what is your job? What town are you from, and what is your job there? Don't worry, everybody's not going to have to do this.
We're all going to now the city councilman.
City councilman, okay. Do people ever give you reports on anything?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, here you go. Okay, Fred, here you go. This is the way he likes a report given him. I'm going to let him determine which way he likes it better, okay? So watch us. Fred, here's that report that you asked for. My contact information's on the front. Okay, let's try that one other way. Watch this. Hey, Fred, you got a second? Here's that report that you asked for. Now, I put my contact information on every page. I put the thing in color too. I tell you what, I've got. Hang on. I've got a copy on my desk, and I've got. When we go together and have lunch, you know, a great place to get a sandwich.
You heard me give it to the mayor. I left time for it.
Okay, he said, give it to the mayor. He's left time for it. Okay. Now, these questions are for Fred, then I'm going to open some of them up to y'all. Fred, which way did you prefer to get the report? The first way or the second way?
First.
Why?
Because I didn't have time for all your nonsense.
He didn't have time for my nonsense. I take that personal. No, that's serious. Everywhere I go, all over North America, Canada, they're the same way. They don't have time. What did you not like about the second person?
The second person was
Silly.
silly.
Just so you know, there's people in the room that thought the second person would be real fun to go have lunch with, okay? I'm not kidding, okay? Now, you just sit here, hold tight here. Everybody else in the room that was watching this thing, how many of you picked up on the fact that he didn't like number 2 as well as he did number 1? Now, I want you to see how far away these hands are. What did you notice, dear? What did you notice? What did he do? Yeah, you. It's like bowling. If you have to ask if it's your turn, it probably is. What? You know, what did his body language do? Did y'all see that? Just hand it right back to him. What did you say? I didn't get the paper to him. Just get lost. What did you see over here? Y'all are behind. Look, they're behind you, Fred. What did you see over here? What did he do that said he didn't like number 2 as well as number 1? What? Aggressive. Now, is it possible? Is it remotely possible that the people who work with Fred have already picked up on the fact that he only likes people who are like him and nobody else? Now notice how far away they were, and here's what I'll guarantee I could do. If you gave me your card, wrote info on it, I come to your town and I can help you adapt to all right, let's assume everything's even. It almost is. Just assume 25, 25, 25, 25, okay? Let's assume that 25% of the population is like the first person, 25 is like the second, and we've got the other two haven't even covered yet. What percentage is he working best with right now? 25%. I can help you work better with the other 75%. I can improve your management skills if you learn to adapt. Now, in that case, you'd almost have to say, that's wonderful. I can't schedule lunch with you right now, but give me the report and I'll deal with it later. Oh, let me ask all of you this question. You've been around me long enough today. Jim Mathis. Am I person number 1 or number 2? Which is more like me, person 1 or 2? How many people think I was number 1? How many people think I'm number 2? Now, if you don't walk away with anything else, I want you to walk away with this. Both of them were me. I put her in an act for you both times. I put her in an act for you. I overdid the first one. By the way, how did I leave him the second time? What did you notice about the way I walked away the first time and the second time? What did you notice? Anybody notice that? I was facing him when I left the second time. Why didn't I turn around and walk away like I did the first time? Didn't want to turn my back on. I didn't trust him. That's good. That's one of the answers. And the other one is, I'm still trying to win him over. I want attention, affirmation, and acceptance. The first one, I don't give a rip whether he likes it or not. I did the job he asked me to do. If he doesn't like it, he'd go do it his dang self. That's the way they think. Actually, if it comes down to it, when I've done these assessments, I'm a combination of both those people. I'm a little bit of number 1 and a little bit of number 2. My wife is the opposite. You're going to meet her in a little bit. The populace, they love, this is their best environment, popularity and social recognition. They like to be in an environment where they can be popular and people will notice them. They love ceremonies and award stuff. If you're planning a meeting like Ken's planning this meeting, you have to plan an award ceremony so all these people will show up. Or a golf tournament so they'll show up. You have to have something to do all the time. Because Little Rock's not exciting enough without having a golf tournament and award ceremony for some reason. No resort is either, by the way. Public recognition of ability. They want people to see them up in front of everybody. Hey, you did a great job. That's why they have the trophies. First of all, you know this in your office. Go in somebody's office. They got a bunch of trophies. They love being recognized publicly. Freedom of expression. They want to do it their way. Think of the people with all the different colored markers. Group activities outside the job. Oh my gosh. I've had fun working with you today, John, but guess what? Afterwards, let's go to this pizza place, have some pizza and beer. I know a great place. And you're thinking, I have spent 8 hours with you in an enclosed building. I am not spending one more second. But this bunch loves doing stuff after work and after hours on weekends together. Freedom from control and detail. They don't like to be micromanaged either. And why do they hate details? They don't hate them. They're just not aware they exist. Counseling and coaching. Why? It's a people-to-people thing. These are people persons. They need to be receptionists. They are great at customer service. The first group is not that great at customer service unless customer service involves killing someone. Favorable working conditions. They like a place where everything is positive and favorable, not a mundane routine job. They hate routine stuff altogether. They'll do anything they can to make it not routine, so they make a song out of it, or they make some game or something like that. All right, you've met me, now you're going to meet my wife, Laura. Laura is the exact opposite of me, showing that opposites can work out. Let me show you why. Laura is a peacemaker. The ancient Greeks called them phlegmatic, because they thought, yes, they thought they had too much phlegm in their head. You ever heard the phrase, little snot-nosed thing? This is where that comes from. They thought they moved slow in life because they had too much mucus going around their head. So they call them phlegmatic. They're steady. They're good listeners. Their basic desire on the job is to just have peace. And they want unity, and why can't we all just get along? And I guarantee you, if you don't have two or threes in the office, you are not getting along. They are the peacemakers. Their emotional needs are to just get along with one another. All I need you to do is just hear me out, or just be sensitive to me and care about what I care about. They're very, very touchy-feely people. Their greatest fear is change, confrontation, and conflict. Now, write this in your notes. They can't tell the difference between those three things. Now, understand, this is the language they speak. Just as if they only spoke Spanish and no other language, they don't understand anything else other than the fact that when you make a change, it creates a conflict. And it will result in a confrontation. So, power broker, when you move the copier, you have to give these folks a week's notice in advance, because if you move it right away, it upsets their apple cart and they really just quit working. They don't know what to do. Now, you're saying we'll move the copy maker and then we'll move you. That's not a good idea. You can't attack people like a bull in a china shop. Or if you have been doing that, in the words of Dr. Phil, how's that been working for you? Coaching, show them why they should be motivated. I'm actually going to use that laser right now, the laser. See, why? Show them why they should be motivated. They want to understand why we're doing this and then get involved in it. They are touchy-feely people. So they are into the feelings of everything. Under pressure, they become more of let's just get along and let's be peaceful. They throw up a wall of silence. They go dead quiet. Our middle son, Corey, is a ball of fire. He is a power broker. He's the only one of our kids that's a power broker. And when Corey gets mad, he just blows up like crazy. And I've watched Laura, when he gets mad, just go, okay. And I used to take it personal, because I'd see her do that, think she's mad at me. And so, well, Laura, what's the matter? Are you all right? Have I done something wrong? What have I done wrong? Why am I doing that? Because I'm a populist. But I've learned this is her reaction. When she gets pressed into a corner, she shuts down. So Corey will leave the room and I'll go, you need time to think. I said, yeah, I do. I just need, okay. Talk to me when you want to. If you need to talk it out, okay. If coming out, okay. I just need to talk. Okay, fine. I just need to listen. Now, here's something fun you can do when we're done today. This would be worth me leaving early. If you have access to a phone or a computer or a tablet, and you can, that's right, you want me to go this way. I'm trying to please the camera crew here, because you know why? Because I'm a populist. Google this on YouTube. This one thing, it takes 1 minute and 42 seconds to watch. You will laugh your head off. It's about men and women's relationships and how people react different to things. It's called It's Not About the Nail, N-A-I-L. You've seen it? And watch the woman. I don't want to give it away. Just keep your eye on the woman. It's a husband and wife, apparently, or a boyfriend, girlfriend talking. And listen to her and watch him and watch her, most importantly. Look at what she is doing and what happens. It's called It's Not About the Nail, N-A-I-L. And it shows how people talk about one thing, but they really want something else and what they really want. And this is mainly about the different genders. But what these people do is they throw up a wall of silence. Working with them, give them time to process. These people do not make fast decisions. They make very, very slow decisions. I cannot tell you how many times we've been in traffic in Atlanta. We're on a 4-lane road. I mean, 4 lanes going in the same direction, 8 lanes total. And I've been in the left turn lane, and Laura suddenly says, or we could go right. Why don't you turn right here? Even if there aren't laws that do that, there are people that will not let you do that. And so I've got, Laura, I will go right, but I'm going to turn left first so I can do a U-turn and come over there, because I'm not going to go, oh, no, that's okay, they'll let you cross the lane. No, they won't. No, they won't. The only difference between Atlanta and Florida is I had a left turn signal on in Atlanta. In Florida, no one knows what that is. That's that little stick coming out of the side of your, in Florida, they don't even know what I'm talking about. But she processes, and they change their mind frequently before they land on a decision. When we moved to Orlando, we milled around with it for a year. Let me qualify that. Laura milled around with it for a year. Once she said, I think we ought to move to Orlando, I'm up for it. Why? My grandparents' family grew up down there. I'd been there a bunch of times. It's warm, it's tropical. We just had an ice storm in Atlanta. It takes me an hour and a half to get to the airport. I only live 40 minutes from it. And in Orlando, I live 20 minutes, and it takes me 20 minutes to get there. I was sold. Laura had to make up her own mind when it was her decision. She had to process. Now, who don't these people get along with well at all? The power brokers, who are unyielding, and I want an immediate answer, and you're stupid if you can't give me a fast answer. Look how fast Fred shut me down a while ago. It was a settled deal. He's Judge Judy in the flesh here. He's, boom, bam, there you go. Okay, hang him, bam, go to the next one, okay? That's what they're like. But I would trust the answer of one of these people over a power broker because it's well thought out. You need these folks on your team. I was doing this with a credit union group in Charlotte, North Carolina one time, and they were usually closed on a Wednesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They just shut down all the time. That's just what they do. But I was doing training, so they shut down 2 hours early. Now, there's a sign on the door that says, we close at 2. So we shut down at noon. We all had lunch in the lobby. This is all the employees in the lobby. And then at 1 o'clock, I started training. At 2:30, a member of the credit union showed up. Guy coming, red pickup truck coming, older guy. Handkerchief in his back pocket, kind of walked up there to the credit union. He walked in there and he pulled the door, it doesn't open. Now there's a sign right here. It says we close every Wednesday at 2. There's another sign he's looking right at that says we're closed today at noon. He's doing this. Sees all these people in there. Sort of on that door. And the power broker's in the room. We were doing this thing. The power broker said, that idiot, can't he read? He's got nothing. And somebody said, well, all these people, it doesn't matter. There's a sign on the door. We close every Wednesday. Jim, we close every Wednesday at 2. He ought to know. I said, well, I'm just saying he's one of your members. You ought to take care of him. No, he's an idiot. And then one lady got up and said, oh, the poor guy. He sees all these people and he thinks that we're open right now. I'll go over and I'll tell him that we're not open. He can come back tomorrow and I'll personally take care of him. Lo and behold, when her assessment came out later that afternoon, this is what she'd scored high in. She and that guy are still buddies. TV characters on the Charlie Brown Christmas special, it's Charlie Brown. Lucy says, go out and buy a nice, shiny aluminum Christmas tree. By the way, he spends the entire episode trying to process the meaning of Christmas. Lucy says, buy a nice, shiny aluminum Christmas tree. What kind of a tree does he buy? A pitiful tree. Okay, why did he, okay, I'll play your silly game. Why did he buy that tree?
He felt sorry.
He felt sorry for it, exactly. An inanimate object. But all he says, all this tree needs is some decorations and just a little love. See, now you speak their language. They're touchy-feely people. All it needs is some decorations and a little bit of love. By the way, something else you need to know about these people. They don't lead too well. If you put them in a leadership position, they're not great at it. They're okay, and I can give you famous leaders and famous pastors, and I will, as far as presidents, that have been this. There's only been a couple of them in my lifetime, but there's some people that are like this. They're just sort of peacemakers all the time. But they're very, very, very passive-aggressive. When Charlie Brown picks up the tree, his first words are, she's not going to ruin my Christmas. He doesn't do that. I do that. He's going to go back up to Lucy and go, here, here's your tree. And let her deal with it. If he'd been a populist, well, first, if he'd been a power broker, he'd say, here's your stinking tree. Where do you want me to shove it? If he'd been a populist, he'd have said, okay, I wasn't exactly sure which one, so I bought 6 trees. Pick out the one you like the most, and we'll either decorate the other 5 and give them the homeless, or we'll take it back and we'll get her a discount, because if I take it back in 1 hour, I can do it. I just want you to be happy, Lucy. See what I mean? She's not going to ruin my Christmas. On MASH, it was Henry Blake. What did Henry Blake do every time Hot Lips and Frank complained about Hawkeye and Trapper? What action did he take immediately? Nothing. He'd just go get a drink, sit there and say, tell me more about it, Frank. I remember on one episode, Hawkeye said, this is the desk from which 1,000 indecisions have been launched. See, you watch TV for fun. I watch it for fun and profit. On Everybody Loves Raymond, it's his dad, Frank. You feed this guy and let him sit in front of the TV, and he's happy as a clam. By the way, there was one episode where the mom, Raymond's mom, says, "I'm not just your trophy wife." To which, in a passive-aggressive way, his answer is, "What contest in hell did I enter to get you as a trophy?" Passive-aggressive. On Seinfeld, it's Elaine. Elaine is all about relationships. Why can't we all just get along? And she's in one relationship after another. All she just talks about relationship. These people are into people. They love people. They work well with people. When I gave the assignment, remember, now we're to this group over here. I gave the assignment, I had all them grouped together by how they'd scored. The whole city of Charleston, West Virginia, all their leadership. They're sitting there, and I watched them. And they talked a lot to each other. When I called time after 10 minutes to give the reports, remember, they're already finished. They're making fun of everybody. I had to call time 3 times on this bunch over here because they were still talking. They said, "Oh, we're not done yet." I said, "Well, we got to finish. Bring me what you got." They brought up their page, and it took 2 of them to do it because one didn't want to get up there by themselves, and it only had 3 things on it. They said, "Why'd you only come up with 3 things?" "Well, we were getting to know each other better. We can't do the project until we've gotten to know each other better." Now, to some of you, that's the dumbest thing you've ever heard, but to some of you, that makes sense. I don't want to work with people that don't know what their background, their experience. You're more like that. And the less you understand that means the more you need to adapt to people like that because you don't relate to them at all and they know it already. Presidential politics. We've had 2 presidents in my lifetime that were this. The first one was Gerald Ford. Gerald R. Ford. Gerald Ford will always be remembered for one decision he made as president, and it'll haunt him the rest of his life. Oh, he's dead. It'll haunt him for all eternity. What did he do that he'll always be remembered for doing? He pardoned Richard Nixon. I remember when he came on television and said, "It's time for the long national nightmare to be over. It's time to just move on." See? Another president, George H.W. Bush, was like this. When he ran for office after 8 years of Ronald Reagan and being his vice president, George H.W. Bush promised us a kinder, who all said gentler? Raise your hand. And you don't know the color of a yield sign, and that's about as long ago as that was too. He promised us a kinder, gentler nation. By the way, it's kind of a joke. Inside a little story, when the new president comes in, the old president meets him at the White House. That just happened back in January. President Obama met President Trump at the White House, and they shook hands, went in the office when they came on out to leave. They go into the Oval Office, and Reagan knows that Bush, remember Millie the dog that wrote the book? Reagan used to feed the squirrels outside the Oval Office. He'd feed them little nuts and stuff like that. He'd posted a sign on the door that said, "Warning, dog coming, stay away." And he pointed out to George, he said, "George," he was a little bit insulted by that kinder and gentler stuff. He said, "George, now who's kinder and gentler, you or me?" The word is that when the Berlin Wall fell down, when it was coming down and communism was falling, Gorbachev called Bush. Remember Hillary Clinton had an ad about what will you do at 3 o'clock in the morning if the red phone rings? I got to sit for a moment. If the red telephone rings, how will you respond? What will you do? Well, that's because it really did ring. Gorbachev called Bush on the phone and said, "I need your help," because it was daylight over there. And Bush said, "What do you need?" And he said, "The Berlin Wall is falling and the Soviet Union's coming apart. We're going to dissolve the Soviet Union." Bush said, "What do you need me to do?" And he said, "I don't want you guys celebrating or pounding your chests. If you make a big deal out of this, this is going to fall apart because the Russian people are very proud. And they will not take you going, 'Ha ha, we won the Cold War, you people losers.'" And Bush says, "Whatever it takes, we'll do it." So we're not a lot of celebrations. The Cold War ended kind of with a thud. If Ronald Reagan had been president when the Cold War ended and when the Soviet Union fell apart and the Berlin Wall came down, just imagine what we would have been doing. Flyover jets, 21 gun salutes, celebrations, the whole 4th of July all over again. Okay. If Bill Clinton had been president when the Berlin Wall came down and the Soviet Union fell apart, we'd have been dancing on the wall. probably with Hooters girls, but we'd have been dancing on the wall, playing the sax and everything. We'd have had a party. Man, it's a party. What? That's their personality style. It's not a cut. That's just who we are. But Bush goes, let's all just get along. It's just peaceful. We'll all work it out. Here's their favorite working environment. Peacemakers like maintenance of the status quo. Routine. My friend Bill that turned the refrigerators, this is his style. That's why he threatened to quit when they wanted to make him the supervisor. That's a new job. I don't want to do a new job. I don't have to supervise people. Let me just turn refrigerators. I'm happy. Well, this is sensitive. Predictable routines. They shop the same day every week. They go up and down every aisle of the grocery store. If they play golf, they play the same course, play the same holes, use the same clubs. They're very predictable. They drive four-door sedans of nondescript color. Nobody cares. It's just a car. They want credit for work accomplished privately, but they want to get credit for what they did. They want minimal work infringement on home life. If you're the populace, don't call these folks on the phone and talk about something once they've gone home. Their family doesn't know what they do for a living. They could be involved in the mafia and the family doesn't know it. They could be an undertaker and the family doesn't know it. Why? Well, they don't talk about work at home. They want appreciation, but only if it's sincere. Do you really, really mean it? You did good on that project. Really? Now, do you really mean that? Because I'll do it again for you 100 times. I'll do that. Do you really, really mean it? Okay. They love to identify with the group. They love your city's logo. They love things with the group. They love doing group activities. They work great on teams because A, they get along with everybody. B, they can hide out on the team. They don't have to take front because there's some power broker that'll sign their name to it, some populace that'll color it for them. They like minimal conflict. Do not have conflict. I worked for a church staff one time, and these things happen with people, okay? I don't want you to think it's bad against churches, but the music minister got mad at the singles minister one day in the middle of a discussion, and he took all of his books and slammed them on the table and said, well, I quit. And he walked out of the staff meeting. The church administrator who's running the meeting, not the pastor sitting at the other end of the table, the church administrator who's running the meeting was one of these type people. And you know how Wendell responded? He started crying. I thought we were a family. I thought we all got along. Can we just stop the meeting right here and just take an hour break and let cooler heads prevail? And we'll come back and we'll just talk about this issue. Forget the agenda. I just want to talk about this. Well, what happened was during that hour's break, the two of them made up and they got to be friends again. And they came in and Wendell said, let's talk about this issue. And they said, we're not talking about it. We're friends. I said, don't talk about it. And he just started crying like crazy. So we spent the rest of the day trying to make Wendell feel good. You work with people like this? How well do you work with people like this? How well do you adapt to them, Fred, and all the rest of you? How well can you adapt to someone who's more touchy-feely and processing? You want unity, you want your town to get along, you want the office needs to be working together because if the town picks up, you're not going anywhere. Just like if your parents, if the two of you aren't in agreement, the kids know how to drive a wedge between you. Okay? Same way. I'm not saying your town people are kids, but same human nature. And this is the other thing my wife is. My wife is also a perfectionist, melancholic. That was the Greek word. They're constant, conscientious people. They're detailers. They're big-time detail people. Laura is the most detailed person in the world. I have a calendar that she shares with me on Outlook. I knew every second when I was supposed to be here, who I'm supposed to call, what I'm supposed to do. When I landed yesterday, I had Ken Watson's cell phone number, so I knew to call. Ken, I know my flight numbers. I know what seat I'm in because Laura picked them out. She does all the details. Why? Because I'm part of the first two groups. I either don't like details or I'm not aware they exist, so she covers my details for me. And every day at the end of work, if we're both at the house or we're both in our offices, I'll come out after having made 40 outbound phone calls to try to sell myself to people, because that's how speakers get out. You don't just wait on your phone to ring, you know. And Laura will have spent the day filing things and color coding them and alphabetizing and all these other boring things that she does with those things, you know. She has trace files that if it doesn't get taken care of every day, it goes in the one for the 15th, and the one for the 16th, one for the 17th, you know. She has a stack of cards if somebody has a birthday or anniversary. She can pull it out because she goes out in the store and buys a bunch of them, so she's ready for anything. By the way, we want to go into a business where you design cards for people you really don't give a rip about, but you have to send them a card. You know, the people I'm talking about. And we want to call it the whatever card company. You say, whatever, you know. You're my grandfather, whatever. You're my brother, whatever. You're my brother or my sister. I can say this because I'm an only child. You're my brother or my sister, whatever. Happy, whatever it is, you know. Laura is in the details. And she will sit there and look at me and say, I could not make one phone call. And if Ken is bopping around here, Ken, is that you back there? I'm not wearing my glasses. How many times have you talked to Laura on the phone since you hired me? Maybe one or twice. He's talked to me a bunch of times. Laura doesn't do phone. I do phone. You ask Laura a question over the phone and she'll email you back. She's Miss Email. And she does really good email. But I'll say, I couldn't do what you do. I'd shoot myself in the foot if I had to file things alphabetically all day long. Drive me up the wall. It's routine. Basic desire is perfection. They want everything done perfectly and in order, and they judge people on how well dressed and how well mannered and how professional they look. They hate Casual Friday. Hate it. Their emotional needs are sensitivity. They want you to be sensitive to the fact that they come across like a cold iron brick of lead. Seriously, they think that they don't come across very personable, and they don't. They come across very stiff. Their greatest fear is lack of rules and perfection. They have very high standards, and they cannot function in an arena where the rules are loosey-goosey. They must have order. The best person I can relate this to, that you probably all know who I'm talking about, you ever watch Star Trek? Mr. Spock. There you go. On the Enterprise crew, he was a perfectionist. They're the Mr. Spocks of your workplace. It's logical. It's fascinating. It simply makes sense. Coaching them, lower their expectations. Why? Because they're perfectionists and they have very high expectations of how everything ought to look and what they should do on their job. Under pressure, they become more of a perfectionist and they come across as a robot. This is my daughter, Faith. Her name is Faith, but Faith, when she gets frustrated, she says, I do not know what you're talking about. I will not answer that. Why do you ask me that? I do not care. Faith, why didn't you do good in that class? Because I think that class is dumb and I will not participate in it. I don't like the people in it. I don't like to do it. And she says as fast as she can like that. I talk fast because I had to out of necessity to communicate with my daughter. But she becomes very robotic. She's an artist, and she can pick up languages. As I said, she's in Seoul, South Korea right now teaching Koreans how to speak English and want to come to the United States and want to learn how to do business with American and British companies and Australian. She has not had one class in how to speak, read, or write Korean. She is self-taught. She's also self-taught in Japanese, Chinese, and Thai. The only thing she's taken outside of English is Spanish. It's kind of funny. From a teacher who was from Peru for 4 years in high school. And when she speaks Spanish, everyone wonders why she has a Peruvian accent. I know there was a Peruvian accent, but apparently there is one. But when she speaks Japanese, and she got into that because she was doing manga and anime cartoons, she speaks it without an accent. They think she was born in Japan. But she's run into Japanese people before. She's an artist. She's very detailed about what she does and very picky about it. She likes to throw it away. And I remember as a child, when she's like 8, 9 years old, we'd buy her a bunch of these blank books that artists use like to do things in. She'd do a study in the right hand, and she'd do one picture after another of right hands in different poses. She'd take her own hand and look, okay. And she looked at my hands, something that we're doing. And it'd be just a book, and we would say at the top, study of right hands. It'd be 100 pages of hands that she drew. Everyone very detailed. She's very robotic in what she does. When she gets pushed in a corner, she becomes more robotic. Working with them, give them clear expectations. Tell them exactly what you want them to do. Tell them how you want them to do it, and exactly when you want it done. Now, if you want to really, pardon my phrase, screw with these people, tell them the project is due next Tuesday at 2:23 in the afternoon, and see how close to 2:23 they come to turning it in. And they'll do it right on the button, and they'll make you synchronize your watch maybe. The populist will say, what if I turn it in Monday? What's going to happen to me if I turn it in Tuesday at 3 o'clock? Is there a penalty? Do I get extra credit for turning it in that morning? Can I? Really? Really? Can I? You want to have lunch and let's discuss it? See what I mean? If you ask the peacemaker for it Tuesday at 2:23, you'll get it Tuesday. It may not be this Tuesday. It might not be any Tuesday in the foreseeable future, but you will get it on a Tuesday. And they don't mind you reminding them either. They love you reminding them about it. They adore you reminding them. Where's Fred?
Here.
There you go. The power broker. It's due Tuesday at 2:23. You say, you'll get it when I'm darn good and ready to give it to you. And if you have a problem with it, get someone else to do it. I got better things to do. Am I not correct?
Correct.
I speak the language. TV characters. Linus on the Charlie Brown Christmas special. He's the only one on that show that memorizes things. At the very end of the show, Charlie Brown says, does anybody know what Christmas really is? And he recites Luke chapter 2, word for word. He's the detail one on that show. He keeps Charlie Brown straight with details all the time. On MASH, it was Radar. Radar really ran the 407 7th Camp. He did all the details. When he's not there, it all falls apart, okay? Kept everything organized. On Everybody Loves Raymond is his brother, Robert. He remembers every detail of when Raymond got favored over him, every story, and he wears that nice, neat New York City policeman's uniform. On Seinfeld is George Costanza. Why are you looking at me? What have I done wrong? What's the details? Come on. The funniest one, if you ever want to see one that's really good, here's two you can play with. On the TV show Frasier, you ever watch reruns of Frasier? Frasier and his brother are both this. They're very detailed. The dad is the power broker. Daphne, the housekeeper, the British housekeeper from Manchester, England. Daphne is the peacemaker, and Roz, Frasier's assistant in the station, is the fun person. She's on that show just to have fun. On Cheers, who's the person no one wanted to fight on Cheers? They were all afraid to do battle with this person. Carla the barmaid. Sam is Mr. Fun, Mr. Popular. Cliff Clavin and Diane Chambers, and of course when Fraser on there, were your perfectionists. And who's the person that just doesn't care, just wants everybody to get along? Norm! There you go. He has a routine. He shows up every day at the same time. He's always got some little quip. How's it going today, Norm? Well, I don't know, Sam. The world's dog eat dog, and I'm wearing milk bone underwear. You know, he always sits at the corner of the bar with that beer, and if a fight breaks out, he picks the beer up and moves it away so it won't get spilled. Okay, so routine, same old routine over and over again. They knew this when they planned this show, and they got these characters exaggerated. What they didn't expect, a little trivia for you, is the guy, John Ratzenberger, that plays Cliff the mailman, tried out for Norm's part and failed miserably. I don't know if you know this or not. I'm a trivia buff and a half, okay? You want to take me to the sports bar on trivia night, and we'll act stupid for the first round, collect bets, and we'll nail them, okay? He auditioned for Norm's part. They said, you're just not right for it. And as he walked out, he said, who's going to be the trivia authority? They said, what? He said, every bar I've ever been in, there's some guy at the end of the bar that knows a lot about everything, and the drunker he gets, the more he knows. And they said, come in tomorrow and show us what you mean. So he came in the next day, and he played a policeman, and they made him a mailman because the idea was that he was reading the people's mail and getting all these little facts out of it. But he auditioned for that. He made up the role, and he became a fixture for it. I know what you're going to do with that little bit of information, but when you're sitting around the city office next week, it's something you can bring up. Perfectionist. They want to control those factors that affect their performance. They want to be in charge of their job description. That's why their job description is copied, laminated, and locked in their desk drawer. The way they seize control and power, the way these people lead, is through passwords and locks and keys. We had a church administrator at a church I worked in one time that the way he took control when he came there was he changed the password on the server on the computer, and you had to come to him to get it. If you wanted to get in a door, you had to borrow the master key from him. Now, I'm a mean little cuss, so after about a year of this, I couldn't stand it, so I borrowed the key from him one time and went to a locksmith and had a key made and gave him his key back. And the day I left the church, the music minister said, everybody on the staff knew I had that key but him. He said, what are you going to do with the key? I said, I'm giving it to you. And to this day, no one knows about that key except us. But he controlled people through locks and keys. And you can always tell these people because they always walk around with a wad of keys right here. And the password on the computer is like Y/PRJ tilde6439RU42. Now, if I just call it your password, you're going to change it tomorrow anyway, because I always change the password. If you're a populist, the password on your computer is your favorite color, your child's name, your favorite vacation spot, a flower, something really lighthearted, something easy to remember, something I could hack into and I'm not even trying. If you're the peacemaker, you have the same password on your computer you had 3 years ago, because what have you got to steal? You can share it with the world anyway. I don't believe in, everybody loves each other, we just get along. And if you're a power broker, you call up IT at least once a week going, would you take the stinking password off? I just want to log on and do something quick and get out of here. Perfectionists. They want clearly defined performance expectations. Tell them exactly what you want them to do. Tell them what the parameters are. Now, here's how you know if you're a perfectionist. You know what the word parameter means on a daily basis. They want to know exactly how to do the job and how you want it done. They value people and everything on quality and accuracy. If I'd shown up and done this program today in a work shirt or a polo shirt, these people would have not paid attention. They value people and how well they look and how good they come across. Now, I was working with a group in Alaska a few years ago, and I have to admit it was a sales team, but you can learn from this. It was in Anchorage, Alaska. I don't know if you know much about Alaska, if you've ever been there. The capital is down in Juneau. Anchorage is the biggest city, and the governor's house is actually in Anchorage. And a lot of the state business is done in Anchorage. They haven't moved it out of Juneau because A, it would cost too much, and B, they always promised Juneau they could be the capital. So they were always running back and forth between Anchorage and Juneau. I say running, it's like a 3-hour plane flight, but they're always going back and forth. Everything in Alaska is measured by time to get there. And I was doing a sales presentation. There was a young lady, and I was doing a sales version of this. A young lady sitting over a table over here. In the middle of this, I said, do you have any questions? She said, yeah. She said, I'm a sales manager. Now, this is a good way to show you how to adapt to folks. I'm a sales manager. And she said, but I have a young apprentice. It's a young assistant. She's an intern. She's not paid, but she's there to learn and work with me. But she disrespects me all the time. Now, the lady that was talking to me was about 29 years old. She was dressed in jeans and a cable knit sweater. And she had a denim type jacket that when it get hot, she'd take it off, put it back on during the presentation. And she said, can you tell me how I can make her respect me more? Now, just so you know, Alaska is kind of a dressed down place in a lot of ways, but not completely. There were a lot of people in that room that were in coats and ties, a lot of women in nice dresses. So I said, can we talk about this afterwards? I said, I don't want to workshop this in front of everybody, I don't want to embarrass you, and let me do this for everybody, and then if you'll stay afterwards, I'd be glad to sit and talk to you as long as I didn't have to catch a flight like I do today. And she said, yeah. So she stayed afterwards, but her entire team stayed there too. The whole group did, their boss did, everybody. So we want to know this because the girl, that's right, the girl treats us okay, she treats her like dirt. And the nicer she is, the dirtier that girl treats her. And I said, let me just ask you a question. What to you would be a big check that you would take from a client buying airtime on you? It was a radio station. What's a big check? If you close a client, name me a big check. She said, $30,000. Oh, yeah, that'd be pretty big. I said, okay, I said, we'll do it. $30,000, fine. I said, I would never buy from you. So why? I said, you don't look like you've ever had $30,000 in your life in your hands. She said, well, I'm 29 years old. I'm a single mom. I'm doing the best I can. I said, I didn't say you're not doing the best you can. You don't look like you could handle $30,000. You know, like if I gave you $30,000, I'd never see it or you again. I said, I'm being honest. I said, you asked me, you wanted them all here for this. And I said, that girl is disrespecting you because you're trying to look like her. You look like a teenager right now. And the more you try to get on her level and try to do that rather than rising above, it's one thing to adapt to her, you're becoming her. I said, I promise you, you go down, there's a JCPenney down here, it won't cost you that much to get one nice suit. one nice blouse with it, get like 4 cheap blouses and one nice suit, and I don't care what, you don't look professional enough. And everybody around town said, you know, you're absolutely right. She dresses down more than anybody else does. We've looked at everything. We never looked at the fact. She said, but Jim, it's Alaska. People don't dress up. And I pointed, how many people are walking up and down the hallway dressed in suits? I said, it's still business. This girl does not respect you because you don't respect the job. And you're spending more time trying to adjust to her than the job. You raise the level, she will. Now, it doesn't mean you're not adapting to her some. I said, you have to adapt the fact that she wants hard-notch business. You're going to adapt her by dressing like business instead of dressing like a teenager. And she'll come up the level. I spoke with the same group about a year later, and they were there, and here she showed up in a nice outfit. She said, it worked like a charm. Now, I didn't solve that. I could just tell by looking at her. She said, it worked like a charm. She said, she said, what I thought about more than anything else was, I don't look like I've ever had $30,000 in my life. She said, I didn't care about trying to look like her anymore. I cared about getting the $30,000 check, and I've gotten 6 in the last year because I dressed to the part. A little thing on how you dress. At the Second Continental Congress, the delegates met and they decided they were going to declare independence against Great Britain, and they were writing up a Declaration of Independence. They said, now we've got to have a leader. Everybody showed up in those waistcoats, you know, the pantaloon thing, those funny looking outfits they wear back then. It's funny to us, but it was really businesslike to them, except one person. One of the delegates from Virginia didn't wear that outfit. He'd actually started the French and Indian War single-handedly. He did. He didn't speak French. He misunderstood a document. He signed a document saying that he had personally been responsible for murdering a French official. And the French used that as an excuse to declare war on Great Britain. He worked for the crown. He was British. And as a result, that's the French and Indian War here. It's called the 7 Years' War in Europe. And the crown never gave him a lead role as an officer ever again. He always had to be subordinate to somebody because they didn't trust him. So in a last desperate attempt, he showed up at the First Continental Congress meeting in his Virginia militia uniform. And Ben Franklin leans over to John Adams, and Adams says, we got to have somebody to lead this thing. We got to have somebody, point person. And Franklin said, you hire the man who looks like he wants the job. If you want to see a picture of him, put a $1 bill. He's on the face of it right now. George Washington showed up for the job he wanted, not the job he had. And they made him military commander. Always dress for the job you want, not the job you have. If you want more respect in your job, dress for the job you want. If you're cool with what you got, stay cool with what you got. But if you want to move up, and this is for the ambitious power brokers and populists, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. Dress for the respect you want, not the respect you have. And you'll get it. And these people are going to judge you on your quality and your accuracy. And they, by the way, the newsletter, if you signed up for it, it has very few mistakes in it because I'm a populist. It just looked good when I sent it out. Laura proofreads it for me. We proofread it once a month over the whole thing, and she proofreads everything. They like a reserved, business-like atmosphere. Remember, I said they cannot stand casual Friday. They want recognition for specific skills and accomplishments. They want to know exactly what they did and how they did it. If you're going to recognize them, tell them what they did and how they did it, and they will love you for it. Oh, they don't like the guy coming loosey-goosey going, hey, man, it's cool, man. We're going to rock this place. I want to work in your city office. And you go, no, I don't think so. The position's been filled, even though it really hasn't been. We filled it with something that isn't you. The 4 groups. Oh, I haven't done the president. I've had only one president in my lifetime that was like this. It was Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter. Because I'm from Georgia, and we always made fun of Jimmy there. Jimmy. He'd been a nuclear engineer on a submarine, nuclear submarine commander. He was into detail big time. Don't know if you remember, he did not delegate anything. Why don't perfectionists delegate? Somebody tell me, based on what you know, why don't they delegate? Because they could do it as well, if not better, doggone it. You're absolutely right. They do it better than you can. Why delegate it? Why do a bunch of idiots do it? Look who they get along well with. The power brokers. Neither one of them trust everybody else. It's a cold, cruel world to both of them. The power brokers say it's a cold, cruel world, we're going to dominate it. These people say it's a cold, cruel world, if you abide by the rules, you can get by. Jimmy Carter, the night we tried to rescue the hostages in Iran, spent the entire evening over in the war room at the Pentagon supervising and asking questions all the time. Why are we doing this? What are we doing? Why are those troops here? Why are we doing that? He wanted to be there. The night we bombed Libya when Reagan was president, he gave the order, delegated it, and went to bed. It doesn't say that either one of them was wrong. Lincoln was really, really, really bad about doing one thing that drove everybody nuts. He got into the telegraph big time. He wanted to know exactly what was going on, so he had a cot put up for him down at the Western Union office in Washington, D.C. There was a cot where the president could come in and sit there and read all the communiques coming in the battle lines. He is the first president in history, and maybe the only one, that called all the shots in the battles. He told them what to do. At the very end of the war, when Grant had Lee at Appomattox Courthouse, right there, and Grant doesn't know what to do. You know, what's my next step? We've never been this far. Lee's about to surrender. I think he is. I think he's worn out. They'd stopped a supply train, and Lee didn't have any more supply. Grant knew he'd stopped that supply train that Lee thought was going to show up. And Grant sent a telegram to Lincoln because he knew he was camped out at the office. I believe if the matter is pressed, Lee will surrender. How do I do it? He wanted instructions from his boss, the president. And Lincoln answered back, press the matter. Don't care how you do it, just do it. Press the matter. Trusted him. Grant is the one that thought of the idea of letting them all have their guns back if they say they won't fight anymore. Remember, at the end of Yorktown, the British had turned their guns in. Grant says, we won't let them have their guns. They have to hunt. They have to support their families. We won't let them go home. They said they're not going to fight anymore. And up in the north, that didn't go over that well. But Lincoln, he said, I know Lincoln's heart. Lincoln wants to reconstruct this. This country's got to unify again. And the price we pay is to let them have some pride and go home. And when everybody was talking to Lincoln about it, so why don't you fire him? He said, because he has the same thought I do. By the way, the two of them fought battles the exact same way. Lincoln had never really led a group of soldiers, only one time in a minor skirmish in a war in Illinois. But Lincoln had studied on it, and it took him 5 or 6 tries, but he finally found a general that would fight the way he did. See, the way you fought back then was you take cities. That's why all these battles are named for cities. Gettysburg, Antietam, Manassas, all taken for cities. Shiloh, Atlanta, Nashville. But Lincoln believed if you defeat their army, they can't survive as a nation. A nation without an army can't survive. Grant believed the same thing. And so Grant told his soldiers, the first time Lee beat Grant, they said, I guess we're going to go back to Washington and sit and think it over. He said, no, we're going to attack the next day. Well, we can outlast him. We have more people, we have more supplies, we have more everything. We'll wear him down. Now, just so you know, that is an old-fashioned theory. The way we won the first Gulf War with Schwarzkopf was we beat their army. We didn't take their cities, we beat their army. He said, we're going to take the army out in the desert somewhere, and we're going to bomb them out there, and we're going to defeat them that way. We still fight the same way the two of them did, and they're the two that really invented it, because up to that point, you fought people based on taking cities. And they introduced the idea in the United States Armed Forces, you fight the other team's army, not their cities. Cities got nothing to do with it. It's the army, because they won't survive without a standing defense force. I don't know what you're going to do with that, but there it is. Now, the 4 groups. I've saved the best for last. Remember the 4 groups? 1 piece of butcher paper, 1 marker, finished first, made fun of everybody else. What a bunch of idiots. Fred. Okay. Fred, I need to go to the airport. Fred's going to kill me. This bunch, all of them, different colored markers, smell good, look good, all talked at one time. This bunch, getting to know each other, took forever. This group. What were the instructions? Write down your contribution to the organization for the city of Charleston, West Virginia, and turn it in. And a woman walked over to me right after I broke them up in a group. She said, would you give me the instructions one more time? I want to make sure we get them right. It's the only group I had to give the instructions to twice. She wrote them down. Okay. Am I talking fast? No, I can take shorthand. Good, because I can't read shorthand. So I said, okay, here's what, blah, 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 the whole thing. She walked back over a few minutes later and said, can we have another piece of butcher paper? I said, what, did you run out of room? No, we made a mistake. I said, well, just cross it out. No. I flip it over. No, just give me another piece of paper. Now, I don't know how many of you relate to this. If you've ever taught children in Sunday school or school, when you tear a butcher paper, there are people gifted at this art. They can tear off the piece of paper and it tears evenly. There's other people who are me. And after 3 attempts at tearing it, and it would be jagged at the top, she said, oh, let me do it. She'd take it zip like that. She was born to do this. She walked over, took their paper. I said, well, I'm going to throw these away. No, I'll take them. We'll use them as a straight edge. By George, she did. She used the extra piece of paper that I had not done straight on the other edges. She used them as straight edges. When they got to give their report, they did it like this. One held it up, the other one pointed, and they'd actually put bullets out in front of each one. It looked like a thing you'd done in Microsoft Word or Excel. This, 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 this. And see, we're going to quit here in about 5 minutes, so I was going to do that with them too. So for the next 5 minutes, I watched this group over here, and I watched them doing Is it watching Saturday morning cartoons that taught you that if you do like this or you do this, people can't see you? Yes, we can. And I watched one of the men walk over like that, and right now I went, busted, like that, and he said, I just couldn't resist. It was crooked. I said, I know, I did it that way on purpose. Whole group picked up. I didn't teach them to do this. They did this automatically. Why? That's their style. That's the only language they understand. If you don't learn anything else here today, I want you to go home, find someone that's not your style. If you're a populist, find a perfectionist and win them over. And you can only do it by speaking perfection to them, speaking detail to them. If you're a peacemaker, I want you to find a power broker and get it done and get the heck out of their way as fast as you can. And don't think they're going to kill you. They'll kill you the longer you stay. Populists, really listen to me on that one. They will kill you the longer you stay. 2 stories and I'm done. One's a story about King Arthur and his knights. By the way, if you had a chance, you just remind me of that. That's the last page of the handout. There's like a little questionnaire. I would love it if you could fill that out. If I can't take it today, give it to Ken and them, and they'll mail them to me or they'll do it. I need an evaluation. I want to know if I did okay today. And you know why? Because I'm a populist, I need your affirmation, acceptance, and, anyway. 2 stories. The first one, King Arthur had 4 knights who were guilty, very guilty, of treason. And they were sentenced to death by guillotine. The first knight got up there, put his head down. They raised the blade. They lock him in place. They raise the blade. They cut the cord. The blade comes down, and 1 foot over his head, the blade just stopped. Well, they saw this as divine providence, and he's been spared, and he's not supposed to die. And he stood up and he said, you people, I told you I was innocent all along. I told you this was wrong. This is a terrible injustice, and I'm going to hate all of you for the rest of my life. I don't want to see any of you ever again. I'm going to move to the other side of town. I never want to talk to you again because I was right and you were wrong, and I knew it all along. Just listen to me. We never would have done this. The next night got up there, raised the stocks, put his head in it, lowered it, locked him in place, raised the blade, tie it off, cut the cord, the blade comes down, zoop, once again, 1 foot over his head, it just stopped cold. And he gets up and goes, we're free, it's a party, it's the first day of the rest of our lives, let's celebrate, this forever will be the day of independence, party at my house, kegger. The third night gets up there, walks up, puts his head down, lock it in the stocks, raise the blade, cut the cord, comes down, you know what happened, 1 foot over his head, it stops. He got up and walked over to the executioner. He said, this isn't your fault. I know you couldn't help this. You're just doing the job they hired you to do. And I understand that. And you probably don't have a lot of long-lasting relationships and friends in this job because you don't meet people for long. And I'll be your friend forever, and we'll hang out together. And you'll have someone's shoulder you can cry on. And the 4th night got up there. He walked up there, and just before he put his head down, he leaned over the executioner and said, you know something? I've been studying this. There's a knot in the cord. If you'll unloose it, this thing will work perfectly every time. See the 4 styles? Let me give you a modern version of that. Go into the office. I don't care if you're the chief of police. I don't care if you're the fire chief, the city clerk, the manager, the council board member, mayor, whatever. Go into the office and say to somebody else, particularly if it's a supervisor of yours, go up to that person and say, my arm hurts. When you get back to the office on Monday, you say, my arm hurts. If they're a power broker, they'll say, is it bleeding? You'll say, no, well, what do I care? Get back to work. Go up to your boss, say, my arm hurts. If they're a peacemaker, they'll say, oh my gosh, where does it hurt? Sit down, talk to me about that for a while. That's awful. I feel so sorry for you. Tell me all about that. Has it hurt long? Wow. How can you even be here today? I'd go home. Go up to your boss and say, my arm hurts. If they're a perfectionist, they'll say, where does it hurt exactly? Is it muscular or is it bone? Is it nerve? I've got a bunch of I tell you what, we've got WebMD right here. Forget the journals I've got. Give me your symptoms. I'll type them in. We'll solve it right now. I've got a bunch of pills down here too. I've got pills for everything. I'll do it for you. Trust me, I'm married to this, okay? I know this. Go in your boss's office, supervisor's office, and say, my arm hurts. They're pipeless. They'll probably say something like this. Your arm hurts? Let me tell you about my arm. The other day, I was up on that ladder at my cousin's house. You know the one with a daughter that can't get married? It was 8 foot. No, it was a 10 foot. It might have been a 12-foot ladder. I don't know. I'll go back and measure it for you later. Anyway, I'm on this ladder, and his poor daughter, her name's Clarice, and she's dated people all over the place. She's been at college for 2 years up in Fayetteville. Now she's back in, and she can't get married. Anyway, so I'm on this ladder, and I leaned over there. Do you know from up on top of his house, you can see, what are we talking about again? You can't tell a pipeless anything. They can't beat you with another story. And when they're doing this, they're not listening to you. They're trying to think, okay, when am I going to tell this better than this? If you know this and you can adapt to them, it is possible that you will work together with, what was that, the number I gave Fred? 75% of the other people in your office. It's not just Fred, it's all of you. You all have one of these that shines out. And if after listening to me, you're saying, I've got kind of all of them, I know you do. They're all at different places, but I've got one or two that shines out. And when you leave here today and you're eating out tonight or doing whatever you're doing, turn to 5 people or call your spouse on the phone or your partner or your friend and just say, how do I come across and describe this? And they'll tell you because they've been dying to tell you for years. I want you to go back. I want you to use this as a way to unify your towns, unify in the public, and pick out people in the public that are like this too, because they need to be heard. And you're not, remember one of the skills is listening. You're not listening to them. You learn more by listening than you do by telling. Real quickly, who's more in control of a conversation? The person answering the questions or the person asking the questions? Asking. Learn to ask questions. Number one, just saying, how's your day going? They'll tell you what style they are by how they answer. Number two, they'll be more involved with you and they'll feel more of a kinship with you. You'll grow more as a leader and you'll grow your town better. I have got to book to the airport and I appreciate all of you. Thank you for putting up with this today. I think of what my wife has to put up with. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Love Arkansas. Harry.